Chapter 14:15. Shou Zhan led the disciples forward, but Huiling was a bit slower. He deliberately led a group of elites, planning to stop Su Yun's soldiers. After all, with so many of them moving, even if the scene was chaotic, the other party would definitely notice. However, after waiting for a while, the spiritual reverend did not see anyone coming to stop them. Did Su Yun give up his encampment? Venerable Spirit returning was puzzled. He must have given up. They were already having a hard time dealing with the divine dragon race. How would he have the time to care about us? Shou Zhan, who was originally in front, flew over and said with a smile. Reverend Spirit Return frowned and looked at Shou Zhan. He felt that something was wrong. Venerable One, I heard that your magic weapon is a horsetail whisk. With a flick of the horsetail whisk, yin and yang can be reversed, and the cycle of life and death can be controlled at will. Is that true? Shou Zhan asked with a smile. So what if I am? Reverend Huiling's brows twitched as he looked at Shou Zhan vigilantly. But at this moment, an iron fist suddenly blasted over, directly smashing into the spiritual reverend's chest. Bang! The returning spirit swordsman was pushed back. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He stared at Shou Zhan in shock. Sect leader Shou Zhan, what are you doing? Venerable Return Spirit shouted. The disciples of Spirit Rhino Peak immediately rushed over and surrounded Shou Zhan. However, just as the disciples of the Spirit Rhino Peak moved, the disciples of the Ancient Beast sect also rushed out. They waved their hands, causing the space around them to distort. A wave of spatial energy bloomed, and terrifying, ferocious beasts walked out from the void. Some are the size of small mountains, some are the size of rabbits. But no matter how they looked like, these ferocious beasts were all filled with killing intent, ferocious and malevolent. One could tell with a single glance that their strength wasn't low. Shou Zhan, you want to fight me? Reverend Spiritual said coldly as he sensed the murderous aura coming from the disciples of the Ancient Beast sect. Start a war? Replying to Venerable Spirit, your words are incorrect. I'm not trying to start a war with you. I'm trying to rid the immortal world of evil. Shou Zhan said in a deep voice. Eliminate the evil? What do you mean? Humph, Spiritual Reverend, stop pretending. You are obviously in cahoots with Su Yun. Huizhen shouted. The people of the Zongyun Sword Pavilion, the Sunset Sect, and the Bayan Daoist Temple turned to look at Reverend Spirit when they heard this. None of them understood what Shou Zhan meant. Nonsense. Shou Zhan, now that Su Yun's encampment is empty and no one can stop us, you want to get rid of me and swallow the evil sword for yourself? The spiritual venerable clenched his teeth. How could he not understand what Shou Zhan meant? Things had already come to this point, yet the two of them were still scheming against each other. In the face of benefits, the human heart had become so fragile. Ominous sword destroyer. No matter who obtained it, they had to seal it. Otherwise, it would only bring harm to the people of the myriad worlds. If I had the ominous sword, I would seal it, but you're different. Replying to the spiritual lord, you said that you did not collude with Su Yun, so why is he indifferent when we attack his encampment? Shou Zhan shouted. With the divine dragon race restraining Su Yun, does he still have the extra strength to stop us? I don't think so. The encampment was his foundation. How could he give it up? What's more, the ominous sword was in the encampment. Did he not value the ominous sword? The way I see it, he has nothing to fear, because you are colluding with him. You will secretly plot against us, so it is enough that you are here. Why should he worry? Shou Zhan shouted. With that said, a portion of the people believed it. After all, it was too abnormal that Su Yun did not send anyone to intercept them. Although many people believed that the beasts wanted to take the ominous sword for themselves, who would dare to interfere in the battle between the two sect leaders? Shou Zhan, I didn't expect you to be even more sinister and cunning than I had imagined. You can even say such a careless thing. Very good. Very good. In any case, you are certain that I am colluding with Su Yun. However, if you can say that I am colluding with Su Yun, I will also say that you might also be colluding with Su Yun. The spiritual venerable said coldly, and then directly took out a horsetail whisk, full of killing intent toward Shou Zhan, and shouted, Come, don't talk nonsense. In the end, don't you just want my life? Let's fight. Let's see who can laugh in the end and obtain the ominous sword. You are too impulsive. The corner of Shojun's mouth revealed a cruel smile. Slander? Of course, Shojun was slandering the spiritual venerable. Otherwise, how would he have an excuse to make a move? The people of the ancient beast sect were powerful and had a large number of people. On the other hand, many disciples of the spirit Rhino Peak had died in the battle earlier, and the spiritual venerable had been injured by his sneak attack. If they were to really fight, the ancient beast sect would definitely win. Shojun was afraid that the spiritual venerable would not fight, and now that he had chosen to fight, it was exactly Shojun's plan. Everyone, listen up. Follow me to kill the spiritual venerable. Exterminate the thieves of the immortal world. Shogu raised his fist and roared loudly. Shameless, you must die today. The spiritual venerable shouted angrily. The people of the Zongyun Sword Pavilion, the Sunset Sect, and the Baiyang Taoist Temple looked at each other. In the end, they chose to retreat and not help either side. If the people of the Ancient Beast Sect and the Spirit Rhino Peak wanted to fight, then let them. They could not afford to offend these two immortal sections. If they got involved and helped the wrong side, it would be troublesome. The disciples of both sides glared at each other. With the sect master's order, they exploded with ferocious attacks, the aura of destruction swirling around. The scene was very intense. Shojun pounced at the spiritual venerable and punched. His fist spat out the shadow of a huge tiger. It was extremely powerful. White crane spreads its wings. The spiritual venerable took a few steps back and swung the horsetail whisk in his hand. The shadow of a white crane appeared and spread its wings, blocking the attack of the tiger shadow. Tiger roar. Shojun roared angrily, the sound waves spreading out. The spiritual venerable retreated quickly. Shojun's eyes flashed with ferocity. He rushed over and punched. Divine power of all creations. Yin and yang rotation. The spiritual venerable waved his horsetail whisk again, and a huge yin and yang pattern appeared in front of him. His fist smashed onto the pattern, sending Shojun flying. Although the spiritual reverend had suffered a sneak attack, his battle prowess was still there. It would not be easy for Shojun to kill the spiritual reverend. All sorts of terrifying and dazzling techniques were released from the bodies of the two venerable ones, and very quickly, the entire place was covered by the terrifying immortal technique. The disciples on both sides were shocked. Their cultivation was low, and they had no choice but to follow the orders of their masters to fight. In truth, none of them wanted to participate in this battle, but they could not disobey their master's orders. And after hearing that they would receive generous rewards after this battle, those cowardly people could not resist the temptation and came in the end. The battle continued, and no one knew who would win. But just at that moment, a pitch-black aura quietly overflowed from afar, directly drowning these immortals. This chi came so suddenly that it shocked many people. What's going on? This seems to be devil chi. It's Suyun's people. Suyun's people are here. The immortals cried out in alarm. They all gathered together, wanting to disperse the devil chi, but discovered that the devil chi was extremely dense, directly devouring the immortal chi. The dense and cold devil chi was also continuously corroding their bodies, preventing the formation of immortal chi and slowing down the flow of blood. Very quickly, these immortals discovered that their bodies were covered in layers of frost, as if they were walking on thin ice. Shojun and the spiritual return honorable, who were still fighting fiercely, stopped fighting when they saw this terrifying scene. They both looked towards the place where the demonic chi had dissipated. Not far away, dozens of figures appeared. Without exception, all of them were devil cultivator-ass, their bodies emitting devil chi, and at the very front of these figures was a person wearing a loose robe who looked like a child. Yo, you haven't even seen the evil sword, and you're already fighting? What a greedy person. Aren't you afraid that the evil sword you're looking for isn't in this encampment? It's not worth it to shed all pretense of cordiality just like that. A mocking laugh floated out. Who are you? Shojun stared at the child who was walking over, and said coldly, "Devil cultivator. I can see it. Octagon aniseed. Never heard of it." He waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, "It's only right that I haven't heard of it. My strength is low, and you high and mighty immortals don't know about it. It's understandable. Are you Suyun's man?" The spiritual venerable said coldly. "Yeah," he answered straightforwardly. Shou Jun and the spiritual venerable looked at each other, seeing the doubt in each other's eyes. If Chi Go and the rest were all on Suyun's side, then why did they appear at this time? They should know that these immortals were Suyun's enemies. Since the enemies were fighting, why didn't they sit by the side and watch the tigers fight? Instead, he chose to appear, as if to stop the two sides from fighting. Where is the evil sword? Shou Zhan's heart was filled with doubts, but what he was most concerned about was where the evil sword was, so he immediately shouted, "I don't know. I don't know. I think you're not going to say it." Shou Zhan said coldly, "Venerable One, it seems like we still have to continue working together. Otherwise, no one will be able to obtain the evil sword." The spiritual venerable did not say a word, but he did not stand together with Shou Zhan. After being bitten by a snake, would he still reach out and let him bite him a second time? "Brat, I see that your strength is so weak that you can't even defeat an ordinary disciple of mine. If I want to kill you, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. How about this? You help us find the evil sword. I will accept you as my disciple, nurture you well, and help you step onto the great Tao. What do you think?" At this time, Shou Zhan suddenly spoke. "Nothing much. However, I don't think your cultivation is that high." Octagon Aniseed laughed. "How dare you?" Shou Zhan and the spiritual venerable were furious. How could they endure being humiliated by such a lowly person? "What is it? Isn't that so?" Octagon Aniseed was not afraid at all. But just at this moment, the 20-odd devil cultivator behind him suddenly stepped forward and rushed towards the immortals. A thick wave of devil chi swept over, causing the immortals to be unable to breathe. The faces of Shou Zhan and the rest changed. This aura, these devil cultivator, they were definitely not ordinary devil cultivator. Their strength had probably reached the peak of the spirit profound god. Great demon. There were more than 20 of them. They were all great demons. What was going on? Suddenly, why did so many powerful devil cultivator appear? "Kill them all." A calm voice came from behind. Behind Octagon Aniseed stood a figure. However, this figure seemed to be shrouded in mist, making it impossible to see his original appearance. He stood there like a dream. The true devil sect master. Chapter 14:16. The great demons were different from ordinary immortals. They were demons that had survived from the ancient era and belonged to the same era as the holy devil Huyen. These 20-odd great devils charged into the midst of the millions of immortals and began a massacre. They were like a harvester, sweeping through everything in their path. No one could stop them. In the blink of an eye, demonic chi rippled, and nearly 1,000 immortals died. Their battle prowess was extremely terrifying. Octagon Aniseed and the true devil sect master stood on the spot, watching the chaotic scene. Behind him, two figures quickly flew over. "Your demon lord is fighting with the divine dragon race. Don't you plan to save him?" A familiar voice came out. This person was the imperial Ming sword that had been injured when fighting against the people of the immortal court, and the one standing beside him was the holy devil Huyen. Compared to before, the auras of the two of them had clearly increased. Not only did the injuries not cause their cultivation to regress, but the intense battle had also allowed them to advance a step further. The blurry figure looked towards the direction of the battle, but there was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "If you really want to help, please go and help Lord Imperial Ming Sword. You're not going to make a move?" The Imperial Ming Sword frowned. "Hey, can I make a move either?" The holy devil Huyen looked at the true devil sect master impatiently and shouted, "No way." The true devil sect master immediately turned around and stared at the holy devil Huyen. His voice was deep. "Lord Holy Devil, you participated in the battle with the immortal court and actually violated the rules. Do you know that?" "Violated the rules?" The holy devil Hoi Yin was startled. He did not understand. What rules did I violate? Who set the rules? Can't you speak more clearly? The true devil sect was silent for a moment, then said, Lord Saint Devil, your experience is special, so there are many things that you do not understand. In fact, in the ancient times, there were no myriad realms in the heavens, and when the primal chaos first opened, there were only two realms, the immortal realm and the demon realm that represented yin and yang, and these two realms only began to reproduce the other realms, the demon realm, the ghost realm, the underworld, the Wanhua realm, the ice realm, and so on. Since ancient times, as long as one's talent wasn't bad, their strength wouldn't be too bad. In fact, the existences that were born in that era were all geniuses with extraordinary talent. Those that were able to survive until now were already extremely terrifying almighty beings. The immortal world has almighty beings, and so does the devil world. It's just that the immortal world and the devil world have been fighting for many years, and the devil world has always been on the losing side. Many great devils have died, and the number of great devils left in ancient times is far less than the great immortals. Whether it's the great devils or the great immortals, they are lofty and incomparable existences to ordinary immortals or devils. If they want to slaughter the current immortals and devils, they will be like this. The true devil sect leader pointed to the scene over there. The 20-odd great demons seemed to have come and gone as they pleased, slaughtering and bombarding them at will. Spirit Reverend and Shoujun were almost instantly torn apart by the great demons. The rest of the disciples could not resist their attacks at all, and it was difficult for them to even hurt them. The great demons had extremely terrifying regenerative abilities, and their devil chi was different from that of ordinary demons. Their devil chi not only harmed the flesh, but also directly attacked the soul. Being enveloped by the devil chi, it was already very good for these immortals to be able to use half of their power. What was even more shocking was that as these great demons continued to slaughter, their own strength was actually rising crazily. Soaked in blood, they became incomparably berserk, and if they continued to kill like this, many of the great demons would break through the peak of Spirit God and enter the void returning realm for a short period of time. How terrifying! Although the difference in the number of people was like heaven and earth, the situation was unexpectedly one-sided. Seeing this, the holy demon fire was still confused, but the Imperial Ming sword had vaguely understood something. How many millions of immortals can the immortal world have for the great demons to slaughter? And how many devil cultivator-s could be slaughtered by those great immortals? Therefore, there had long been an unwritten rule between the great demons and the great immortals. You are not allowed to wantonly participate in the war between the immortals and demons, unless it is the destruction of the world. Just like when the immortal court destroyed the true devil realm. Yes, although the immortal court was powerful at the time, it was not enough for the great immortals to make a move. Furthermore, the true devil realm's power was weak, so there was no need for them to make a move, so you guys did not come into contact with the real great immortals. Furthermore, the great demons of the true devil realm have already infiltrated the immortal world. If the great immortals make a move, the great demons here will definitely make a move as well. In the battle of the great immortal court, Lord Saint Devil helped Su Yun and defeated the great immortal court, which caused the dissatisfaction of the great immortals. I originally wanted to bring the great demon to stop the great immortal court and take advantage of the fact that the news had not leaked out to wipe them out, but the great immortal had already made his move, so he had no choice but to change his route and stop the great immortal. And now, we can't casually expose ourselves, or else there will only be more trouble. The divine dragon race has some connections with the great immortals. If we appear, the divine dragon race will immediately inform the great immortals, and in this way, even if we destroy the divine dragon race, it will be useless. On the contrary, we will trigger a new immortal demon war, and right now, we are still not strong enough to fight against the great immortals head-on. So, you can't make a move because you are afraid of the great immortals, and I'm not from the ancient era, so I can make a move? The Imperial Sword said indifferently, Yes. The true devil sect leader nodded. Holy Demon Fire Flame had also thought it through. Although he was very unhappy, he did not say a word. If the immortals and demons really started fighting, ordinary immortals and devil cultivators would just be cannon fodder. What was truly important was the number of experts on both sides. Just like right now, the people from the 5 immortal sects were just a bunch of weeds in front of the 20 or so great demons. The Imperial Sword took a deep breath. It was not that the true devil sect leader and the rest did not want to help Su Yun, but they were powerless to do anything. Being held back by the great immortal, they could only watch. However, what the Imperial Sword was more concerned about was the true devil sect leader, whose figure was blurry and whose true face could not be seen. May I ask, sect leader, are you also a great demon from the ancient era? The true devil sect leader was silent for a moment, then finally nodded his head. The Imperial Sword did not make another sound. He cupped his fists and rushed over. His speed was very fast, and in a short while, he disappeared without a trace. He looked in the direction that the Imperial Sword had left in and sighed. Hey, sect leader, we are still great demons. We shouldn't be so cowardly, right? Speaking of which, how many great immortals are there in the immortal world? Are we really unable to contend against them? At this time, the holy demon fire flame came over and shouted, in the long river of time, who knows how many heroes have been buried, and the majority of those who were able to make it here are all peerless experts that have reached the heavens and earth. Devil Cultivator has always been at a disadvantage, and not many great demons have survived. I'm afraid that not even 1/10 of the great immortals have survived. The sect leader shook his head, turned, and flew towards the direction of the great demons. The battle between Su Yun and the divine dragon race leader could be said to be the key to deciding this war. As long as the leader of either side fell, the general trend would be towards that side. Although the divine dragon race leader had suffered a huge loss, his fighting strength was still fierce. He did not reveal his original form, but transformed into a human to fight with Su Yun. The human form of the divine dragon race leader was even more agile. He did not need to form any seals to cast any spells, and even if he did, it would be completed in a split second, as if every curse only had one character. Su Yun was practically being suppressed by the divine dragon race leader. He kept on retreating and only used the sword chi to deal with the divine dragon race leader's moves. Dragon roar to the heavens. The divine dragon race leader roared. 9 golden dragon silhouettes appeared from his body, flying towards the 9 heavens. The 9 dragon silhouettes opened their mouths, spitting out a pillar of light towards Su Yun. The 9 pillars crazily bombarded his body. Although the power was not very strong, the pillar of light seemed to have locked onto Su Yun, making it impossible for him to dodge. Su Yun activated his divine power, took out the flowing feather profound fan, and waved it toward the 9 dragon silhouettes. The terrifying airflow instantly tore the 9 dragon silhouettes apart, and the golden light was broken. The divine dragon race leader's eyes turned cold. His body suddenly disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already standing in front of Su Yun. His seemingly weak hand turned into a dragon claw, slapping towards his head. At the same time, the dragon's might swept out, forcing Su Yun. He felt as if he was being squeezed by 2 huge mountains. It was extremely uncomfortable. In such a critical moment, he did not dare to be negligent. Staring at a divine dragon not far away, he suddenly extended his hand and used the empty, plucking hand, grabbing the person and rushing over. The dragon claw missed. You can escape? The divine dragon race leader snorted, his eyes suddenly releasing a gold light. A dense divine power that did not lose to Su Yun surged around his body. The divine power collided with each other, actually transforming into time and space power, directly striking the position where Su Yun disappeared to. Dong, dong, dong. Time and space immediately reversed, as if it had returned to a few seconds ago, and Su Yun, who had disappeared, once again appeared there. What kind of sacred art was this? Die! This time, the divine dragon race leader released both of his claws, slapping towards Su Yun. Just the terrifying, destructive wind alone seemed to want to tear Su Yun apart. Su Yun's face turned cold. His palm immediately touched the space bag. The powerful dragon's might made it difficult for him to escape. It was also difficult for him to receive this palm strike. However, he was not afraid, because inside the space bag, there was still a powerful magic treasure that he did not want to use. The great immortal judge had died to this magic treasure. Boom! Just then, a gray beam of light suddenly shot over from afar and directly struck the divine dragon race leader's body. He flew out, but the dragon claw did not land. Seeing that, Su Yun was startled. This was the Imperial Ming sword chi. The Imperial Ming sword in the distance quickly flew over, its aura sharp like a sharp sword. Su Yun, how are you? The Imperial Ming sword asked. It's nothing serious. Senior, I didn't expect you to come out of seclusion. It's much earlier than I expected. Su Yun laughed. After that battle, I gained some comprehension of my cultivation, so I came out early. The Imperial Ming sword looked at the divine dragon race leader in the distance and said in a deep voice, Now is not the time to reminisce. Let's deal with the person in front of us first. Chapter 14:17. With the arrival of the Imperial Ming sword, the pressure on Su Yun was greatly reduced. The divine dragon lord was not in a good state, and it was already difficult enough to deal with Su Yun alone. It seems like the people of the underworld have already submitted to the people of the devil realm. How sad! The divine dragon lord's eyes shone with a cold light as he said coldly, Divine dragon lord, there is no need to sow discord between me and Su Yun. The most dangerous thing in this world is the human heart, but there is one kind of person that can be trusted, and that is a friend of life and death. Su Yun and I fought against the immortal court's attack together and survived the danger of the nether demon. Now that he is in trouble, how can I remain indifferent? The Imperial Ming sword's gaze was like a sword as it calmly said, Then, you plan to become enemies with my divine dragon race? The divine dragon lord's voice was heavy, filled with anger. The enemy of an enemy is a friend, but the enemy of a friend is an enemy. The Imperial Ming sword replied directly. Hearing that, the divine dragon lord laughed in anger. Good, good, very good. Then today, all of you will die together. With that, he jumped into the sky once again. His body turned illusory and once again transformed into a terrifying dragon that was hundreds of thousands of feet long. The dragon might suddenly increased a bit, but the divine dragon race leader was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he closed his dragon eyes as if he was activating some kind of spell. The countless thick scales on his body released a seven-colored light at this moment. The light shone into the sky, dyeing the sky into a seven-colored color. The thick clouds all dispersed, and in the sky, an incomparably huge divine dragon statue slowly descended. Dragon God statue! The Imperial Ming sword's expression turned cold. What is that? Su Yun felt that something was wrong and asked softly. It is said that the divine dragon race has a very long lifespan, almost as long as the heavens. But in the life of a person, there are many disasters, and no one can guarantee that they will live past tomorrow. History has also recorded the fall of the divine dragon race. But one thing is certain, before every divine dragon race leader falls, they will pass on the position of patriarch, and the thing that represents the identity of the patriarch is this dragon god statue. It is the symbol of the patriarch's authority. It is also an extremely terrifying magic treasure. Magic treasure? What use does it have? Su Yun asked. I heard that. It can break through the cycle of reincarnation, intervene in fate, and temporarily reincarnate the once-dead supreme expert of the divine dragon race to assist in the battle. Although it won't last for a long time, the supreme expert that reincarnated will all be extremely shocking existences, and there will even be the reincarnation of the previous lord of the divine dragon race. What? Su Yun was alarmed. He had never heard of such a terrifying treasure. Countless colorful lights surged towards the dragon god statue. The huge statue was illuminated by the light. It began to tremble. The huge dragon eyes actually shot out dazzling light, as if it had come to life. Not long after, the statue actually began to squirm. With a rumble, the statue soared into the sky and soared into the sky. As it soared, its body continued to change and grow bigger. In the blink of an eye, the dragon god's body had grown to hundreds of thousands of meters long, as if it could pierce through the sky from the north to the south. It was terrifying. This is going to be bad. The Imperial Ming sword stared at the dragon god statue that had come to life. At this moment, the aura emitted by the statue was extremely terrifying and had already surpassed the divine dragon lord beside him. From this, it could be seen that the supreme expert who used the dragon god statue to reincarnate was definitely a previous lord. Looking at his enormous body and dense energy, he seemed to be the ruler of the world. The moment he appeared, the dragon's might immediately overshadowed the divine dragon lord. All the power and might in the surroundings were under his control. Seeing the appearance of the dragon god statue, the faces of the allied forces turned ugly. Such a powerful aura was unbearable for them. As for the group of divine dragon race dragons, they were extremely excited. They raised their heads and roared towards the sky, releasing deafening roars. In terms of momentum, Su Yun's side was about to suffer a crushing defeat. We must quickly get rid of the divine dragon lord. Once he dies, the reincarnation will collapse, and the statue will automatically return to its original state. The Imperial Ming sword said in a deep voice, "Let's work together and eliminate him first." Su Yun bellowed. He did not dare waste any more time. He leaped and pounced towards the divine dragon lord. Scram! The divine dragon lord roared. The chi wave shook in all directions. The ripples fiercely swept towards Su Yun, but he did not move an inch. The double moon sword's power seemed to want to break the sky, fiercely slashing forward. Divine dragon tail swing. The lord twisted his body, and the huge dragon tail exploded. The destructive aura engulfed Su Yun. Imperial Ming sword. A ray of gray light came from the side and struck the tail of the divine dragon, deviating its trajectory. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He rushed forward, the double moon sword pressing towards the dragon tail, with the intention of following the dragon tail and rushing towards the body of the divine dragon lord. However, just as he got close to his body, a terrifying dragon's might attacked him. Scram! The divine dragon lord roared. The dragon's might was unprecedentedly powerful. Scram! Su Yun released his sword power. The sharp sword power was like a sharp sickle, tearing apart the incoming dragon's might, and the sharp sword directly pierced towards its body. Puffed! Dragon blood splattered everywhere, and the protection of the scales was equivalent to nothing under the sword that was wrapped in divine power. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He wanted to increase his strength and chop off the divine dragon lord's dragon tail, but right at that moment, a golden light inexplicably appeared on his body, and immediately after, his entire body flew uncontrollably into the air. He was shocked. He looked to the side and realized that the dragon god statue in the distance had moved. God power control. The Imperial Ming sword was extremely shocked, using divine power to forcefully wrap around and control the target. If one's own strength was not stronger than the opponent's, they would not be able to break through this control. This divine power originated from the dragon god statue, the previous divine dragon race patriarch. Its strength was even stronger than the current divine dragon race patriarch. How could it resist? It's over. The divine dragon lord seized the opportunity created by the dragon god statue. Enduring the pain from his tail, a dragon roar sounded out. Following that, his huge body directly smashed towards Su Yun, who was wrapped in divine power. However, just as the divine dragon lord was rushing towards Su Yun aggressively, Su Yun's entire body suddenly trembled. The divine power that was suppressing him suddenly disappeared without a trace. He instantly rushed out, his sharp blade once again slashing towards the divine dragon lord. What? The divine dragon lord wanted the Imperial Ming sword to be completely shocked. Su Yun actually broke through the divine power suppression of the dragon god statue. How is this possible? The divine dragon lord was caught off guard and was struck in the head. The terrifying double moon sword directly cut off its 6 dragon horns, and a sword wound that was several meters long appeared on its head. Dragon blood splattered again. It let out a miserable roar as its huge body was flung backwards. The Imperial Ming sword swept a glance at Su Yun and saw that his eyes flickered with a strange light. An illusory concept appeared in his eyes. Illusion technique? He was stunned. So this was the effect of Su Yun's yin-yang manifestation art. The dragon god statue was only a reincarnation technique. In the end, it was not a human, so even if there was soul force inside, it was still an extremely weak soul force. If the soul was strong, the divine dragon lord could completely use the soul to revive it. Therefore, Su Yun was sure that the dragon god statue actually had a strand of the souls of many powerful divine dragons of the divine dragon race sealed within it. Without a physical body and with such a weak soul, then no matter how powerful the technique was, no matter how terrifying the existence after reincarnation was, its will would definitely be extremely weak. The Imperial Ming sword knew that now was not the time to be in a daze. He activated the Imperial Ming sword chi and rushed towards the dragon god statue. The dragon god statue was still strong. Su Yun had only disturbed its release of divine power, temporarily breaking through the restrictions, and unexpectedly injured the divine dragon lord. But he did not crush the dragon god statue to death. The divine dragon lord had suffered such a huge loss and was no longer Su Yun's opponent. As long as he could restrain the dragon god statue, Su Yun would definitely win. However, how powerful was it to contend against the dragon god statue? Even if he used the illusion technique to restrain it, it would still be extremely strenuous. The terrifying strength of the dragon god statue was right there. Su Yun had used up more than half of his own divine power to break through the illusion technique, and it was not easy at all. The dragon god statue opened its mouth and spat out tens of thousands of lightning bolts. The Imperial Ming sword clenched its teeth, and the sword chi transformed into a 10,000 zhang long grayish-white sword. As it danced, it slashed towards the lightning. The scene was extremely grand, but every time the sword came into contact with a bolt of lightning, a large amount of Imperial Ming sword chi would be dissipated by the lightning. When all the lightning was blocked, the Imperial Ming sword had already been completely shattered. Roar! The dragon god statue unleashed its might once again. The scales on its body released a large amount of golden light. With Su Yun, the Imperial Ming sword, and the divine dragon lord as the center, it released countless beams of light, directly surrounding the three of them. Very quickly, a huge domain of light was formed, and Su Yun and the Imperial Ming sword who were inside felt the pressure suddenly rise, as though they were carrying something that weighed millions of kilograms, making it difficult for them to move. Su Yun, quickly kill the divine dragon lord. The Imperial Ming sword roared. Su Yun did not say a word. His gaze was fixated on the divine dragon lord, the double moon sword in his hands trembling nonstop. "You can't kill me," the divine dragon lord screamed. He soared into the air and rushed towards Su Yun. The reincarnation of the dragon god statue had a time limit. He had to grasp this period of time well, as long as he could wipe out either Su Yun or the Imperial Ming sword. Then he would have a chance of winning. Overturning the rivers and seas. The divine dragon lord roared. A surging power overflowed from his body and swept towards Su Yun like a huge wave. Su Yun clenched his teeth, staring at the terrifying gravity in the domain. He raised his hand with all his might and pointed at the divine dragon lord. A rice grain-sized gas appeared on his fingertip. The god power in Su Yun's entire body was like an electric current rushing towards the rice grain. The rice grain trembled crazily. A large amount of god power was sealed inside, crazily rippling, colliding with each other, but unable to rush out. His face was pale. He clenched his teeth. The wounds on his body were also spurting out a large amount of blood from the crazily surging god power, but he still did not relax. The rice grain became more and more terrifying, and the divine dragon lord was also keenly aware of the ferocity of this move. Dragon battle. He was killed by this move. This required an incomparably precise control over the god power to be able to do so, and this move had accumulated all of Su Yun's remaining god power. The roaring god power wantonly surged in the pitiful space. They were like a group of wild horses that had gone mad, wanting to gallop wantonly, but were powerless to do so. Dragon devouring the world. The approaching divine dragon lord finally roared out again. The 8 sharp claws suddenly extended infinitely and gathered together, transforming into a gigantic and terrifying dragon claw, tearing apart all the space, rushing towards Su Yun to kill. This move was impossible to guard against, a move that could destroy the heavens and the earth. The terrifying dragon claw seemed to have already destroyed all of Su Yun's life. Although it had not touched Su Yun had the illusion that he was already in the midst of death. This claw not only destroyed his body, it also deprived him of his life. Even his will could not survive under its claw. What kind of terrifying claw was this? Chapter 14:18. At this moment, the world seemed to have stopped. Su Yun opened his eyes. The imposing manner of the Divine Dragon Lord attack had directly shattered all of Su Yun's imposing manner. The imposing manner had already suppressed Su Yun, and in terms of strength, it was even more impossible for Su Yun to be compared with the Divine Dragon Lord. The difference in cultivation could not be made up for. There was still an unbridgeable difference in strength between the two, and the current Su Yun was completely at a disadvantage. But he was not afraid, because at this moment, he was stronger than the Divine Dragon Lord. That was a fearless heart. Dragons were proud, but not every dragon was proud and confident. After fighting with Su Yun for so long, the Divine Dragon Lord had already understood Su Yun's terrifying strength and no longer dared to underestimate Su Yun. Although the immortal world was big, there were very few people who could force it to such an extent, and it was not to say that the Divine Dragon Lord was an existence as strong as the heavens. But many people, even if they were stronger than it, did not dare to be invincible. Dragons were not things that people dared to provoke. But Su Yun was different. Not only did he provoke a dragon, he even slayed a dragon. Even when facing such a powerful force from the Divine Dragon race, he still chose to fight. The killing intent and determination in the pair of blood-red eyes deeply impacted the Dragon Lord's confidence. He discovered that his confidence was shattering, and his usual pride was also broken by Su Yun. In fact, he discovered that his life was being threatened. Ever since he had sat on the position of Divine Dragon Lord, he had never experienced such a feeling again. In these past few years, the Divine Dragon race had always been in a favorable situation. Other than fighting with the Divine Eagle race, there had never been such a life and death battle. He realized that he had been in a peaceful state of cultivation and had gradually forgotten about the taste of life and death. However, the person in front of him was different. He seemed to have always been walking between life and death. He was already indifferent to life and death and had seen through everything. Even if this attack was stronger than his, he was still not afraid. No, with this terrifying destructive power, even if I kill him, I'm afraid that I will be severely injured myself. Finally, the Divine Dragon Lord's confidence wavered. His gigantic dragon eyes stared at the grain of rice on Su Yun's finger. He could deeply feel the terror contained within. A set of dragon bones actually started to tremble. A hint of fear flashed past his eyes. Win? The Divine Dragon race leader knew that he would definitely win. It was not difficult for him to defeat Su Yun, but Su Yun's madness made him worry. Even if he won, he would have to pay a painful price. After so many years of peace and comfort, he didn't want to lose anything, and he didn't want to suffer any losses. However, no matter what, he would fight. This was the pride of a dragon. Even if he was afraid, his body would still act regardless of everything. This was a pride that was imprinted in his bones. Whoosh! At this moment, the rice grain on Su Yun's fingertips flew out. At the same time, the dragon claw attacked, and the powerful pressure tore at Su Yun's body. The two surging forces intersected with each other, and it was as if heaven and earth were about to collapse and be torn apart. The void had completely collapsed, and it was as if the world was about to meet its end. But Su Yun laughed. The smile on that ice-cold face was especially bright. It was a proud smile, a smile of relief. The divine dragon patriarch's soul trembled as he watched. The pressure had already torn apart Su Yun's skin and flesh, revealing his internal organs and bones, and was still tearing his body apart. But he did not seem to feel anything. What was going on? The divine dragon patriarch was terrified. But in the next second, he understood. Bang! A violent explosion came out from within his body, and a series of crackling sounds came out from within the divine dragon patriarch's huge body. Following that, the swollen dragon body was suppressed, and a large amount of dragon blood gushed out from the hole in his body like a flood. The claw was only a few meters away from Su Yun, but it drooped down. Its dragon body fiercely landed on the cloud ground, and its dragon blood completely dyed the cloud ground red. Patriarch! Seeing this, the group of dragons trembled in fear. They wanted to rush over, but they were firmly sealed by Qin, Qianlong, and the others. Su Yun was also like a kite with its string cut. He fell from the sky and landed not far away from the divine dragon lord. His eyes were bloodshot, and at the moment his body was extremely terrifying. There was not a single part of his body that was intact. All of his internal organs were exposed, and they were in a mess. His bones were all dislocated, broken, and he seemed to be on the verge of death. This move of the two of them was completely an exchange of moves. The divine dragon patriarch slightly lowered his dragon eyes, looking at Su Yun, who was lying on the ground, his heavy breathing coming out from his black hole-like nostrils. Impossible. Why? Your attack can be so shocking. My body can't be so weak. The divine dragon patriarch shouted weakly. He wanted to wiggle his body, but discovered that the inside of his body was completely destroyed, and the degree of destruction was not any weaker than Su Yun's. A flaw. Su Yun looked at the gradually blue sky and said indifferently, "A flaw? Where did it come from?" "From your gradually crumbling confidence, faith, heart." The divine dragon patriarch's eyes widened. He did not dare believe it. Could it be that Su Yun relied on his courage? In that moment of life and death, he still did not panic. He believed in his own strength, believed in the sword in his hand. But in that instant, the divine dragon patriarch was worried about his life and death and hesitated in his heart. That was how Su Yun saw through his flaws. To be able to remain calm and confident in such a dangerous situation, this was not just courage. Confidence, right? What I really lost, I'm afraid. Mental state. He said weakly, his voice getting weaker and weaker. The divine dragon clan had good weather all year round, and they cultivated peacefully. They relied on the dignity left behind by their ancestors to gain a firm foothold in the immortal world. No one dared to offend them. Their powerful bloodline gave them an innate advantage, and their astonishing growth made even the immortal court wary of them. As such, they looked down on everyone and thought that they were invincible. However, when they truly fought against a powerful enemy, their weaknesses would be exposed. They were indeed very strong, but in the comfort that their ancestors had given them, their mental state was as fragile as glass. The mental state of the divine dragon race was weaker than Su Yun's. Su Yun did not say anything. Perhaps he also did not have a strength. The 10,000 worlds will no longer be peaceful. Perhaps a new era is coming. It slowly spoke, its voice getting weaker and weaker, gradually becoming softer. The divine dragon patriarch dead. With the fall of the dragon patriarch, the dragon god statue immediately returned to its original form. The imperial Ming sword, who was covered in wounds from the dragon god statue, finally heaved a sigh of relief. He looked over, and seeing Su Yun like that, he anxiously rushed over, gathered his qi, and wrapped it around his body. "Su Yun, hold on." The imperial Ming sword bellowed. However, he was surprised to discover that the injuries on Su Yun's body actually contained a terrifying dragon intent. With just his strength, it was impossible to expel it, much less heal it. This is not good. If this goes on, I'm afraid that Su Yun's body will completely collapse and he will die. The imperial Ming sword's face suddenly changed. Once his body died, although his soul remained, the collapse of his body also meant that his power would also collapse. Even if he used his soul to revive, Su Yun's cultivation would disappear, and to any spirit cultivator, this was something even more painful than death. The Imperial Ming sword looked left and right, planning to bring Su Yun back to the encampment. With his ability, he was unable to save Su Yun, so he could only do this. Master Imperial Ming sword quickly stuffed Su Yun's body into the divine dragon race's stomach. At this moment, a low shout sounded out. The Imperial Ming sword frowned. He looked to the side, only to see a black smoke quietly moving behind him. Within the black smoke, a figure appeared. Looking at the silhouette of the figure, it was actually the true Devil sect leader. In such a critical situation, he did not dare hesitate. He immediately activated the sword chi, cut open the divine dragon race's body, and stuffed Su Yun inside. At the same time, the true Devil sect leader also took out a pill and crushed it. The powder followed his palm and landed on Su Yun's chest, and he was instantly enveloped by a dense devil chi. The Imperial Ming sword was completely confused. Immediately clean up the scene, chase away the divine dragon race people, and protect Su Yun. The true Devil sect leader said in a low voice, then turned and left. The Imperial Ming sword nodded and stood guard by the side. The divine dragon race had fallen, and all the dragons were terrified. Who would have thought that the divine dragon race would actually die in Su Yun's hands? This was simply impossible. However, the truth had already happened, so what else could they not believe? The fall of the dragon race had completely shattered the confidence of the divine dragon race. They started to retreat. Su Yun had the advantage in numbers. If the divine dragon race was able to crush Su Yun, then he would be able to lead everyone to completely flatten the allied forces' encampment. But the battle situation was unexpected. Su Yun had actually killed the divine dragon race. Although the group of dragons had been defeated, under the orders of the Imperial Ming sword, no one dared to chase too deep. Although the group of dragons had been defeated, the losses of the allied forces were extremely heavy. Dragons, in the end, were not good at fighting, if not for the fact that the divine dragon race had been in a peaceful state for a long time, and the immortals that followed Su Yun had been in a state of war for a long time. How could this battle be like this? Qin Xianlong counted. In this battle, Su Yun had lost at least 800,000 people, and that was not counting the injured people, while on the side of the divine dragon race, a third of the divine dragons were left. Of course, the most important thing was the fall of the Lord. After this battle, the divine dragon race would probably fall from the position of the overlord of the immortal world. Immediately set up the formation. Set up a protective array formation here and seal off this place. No one is allowed to approach. The Imperial Ming sword shouted. Qin Xianlong and Wei Ming immediately went to prepare. The Nether Empress rode on a gigantic elephant-like nether beast, stepping on the air, looking at the gigantic body of the dragon clan. A trace of doubt surfaced in her eyes. The dragon clan leader's body was already wrapped in a large amount of devil chi. Not only that, his body seemed to be slowly being devoured by the devil chi. It was extremely terrifying. What's going on? The Nether Empress asked. Empress, there's no need to ask too much. Just guard this place. The Imperial Ming sword said, but did not explain. Humph! The Nether Empress snorted and walked away. She was threatened by Su Yun to join Su Yun's camp. If Su Yun died, she would be free, but Su Yun's restrictions on her would also threaten her life. The Nether Empress was dissatisfied, but there were many people who were worried. Su Luluo heard the news and rushed over, but was stopped by Kai Tian. Miss, Master Imperial Ming sword seems to be treating Master's injuries. The chi over there is too heavy. You must not go over, otherwise you will be injured. Kai Tian said in a low voice. How is brother? Su Yiluo's eyes were red as he asked softly. Kai Tian was silent for a moment, then shook his head. He could feel that Su Yun's chi was very weak, so weak that he could not even catch it, as though it could disappear at any time. Chapter 1419. The Imperial Ming sword was protecting him, but no one knew what he was protecting. Only a few people saw the Imperial Ming sword stuff Su Yun's body into the Divine Dragon Lord body, and then the devil chi that soared into the sky covered the entire area. Most of the elites were assigned to this place. Su Yun's strength had almost given up on the encampment. With this place as the center, they did their best to protect it. Su Luluo stared at the area where the devil chi soared into the sky, his face filled with worry. Su Yun was the backbone of the Allied forces. If something happened to him, the Allied forces would fall apart, and everything would end. However, what worried Su Luluo even more was the change in the situation here. Kai Tian, Su Luluo called out. Miss, what orders do you have? Kai Tian hurriedly said, prepare a sword sheath immediately, and then send a team to the ultimate martial world. We have to be fast. Hearing that, Kai Tian was puzzled. Miss, why are you going to the ultimate martial world? And why do you need to prepare a sword sheath? The reason the Divine Dragon race came here is because of the evil sword, but the Divine Dragon race is definitely not the only one who is spying on the evil sword. The battle here is so intense. I am afraid it has already attracted the attention of many powerful forces. Big Brother is injured. It is not suitable for him to fight anymore. If a strong enemy comes, we will not be able to deal with it. Quickly bring your people away, create a diversion, and lure them to the ultimate martial world. Su Luluo said in a low voice. Hearing that, Kai Tian was enlightened and nodded. Miss, I will do it immediately. It had only been a day, but Su Luluo still felt flustered and uneasy. She had a premonition that this was not the end. Miss Su, just then, a voice came from afar. Su Luluo raised her head, her bright eyes looking towards the source of the voice, only to see Zijin, who she had not seen for a long time, flying over. Su Luluo remembered that Zijin seemed to be by Xiao Chua's side, assisting him. After the Immortal Court was defeated, Xiao Chua led a group of Immortal Court people to hide. She did not immediately join Su Yun's camp. And in truth, Xiao Chua did not want to join Su Yun's side either. The main reason why she entered the Immortal Court was to increase her own strength, and hoped to use the Immortal Court as a platform to obtain even stronger power. To help Su Yun deal with the Immortal Court was because she felt guilty towards Su Yun, and now that the Immortal Court had fallen, she naturally had her own plans. Zijin's arrival caused Su Yua's heart to be slightly shocked. Xiao Chua's intelligence system in the immortal world was not inferior to Su Yun's. Zijin must have come for something. Zijin, what's the matter? Su Luluo asked. Zijin was panting heavily. It seemed that she had used her celestial power in order to hurry along. Her celestial chi was now empty, and she was sweating profusely. However, she couldn't care less about resting. She hurriedly said, Miss, hurry. Immediately evacuate everyone. Retreat? Why? Sister Xiao Liao asked me to send a message. 27 immortal sects have formed an alliance and are rushing here. An alliance formed by 27 immortal sects. Su Yuluo's face changed drastically. If it was a normal small celestial sect, then they would just be a bunch of mobs. However, Xiao Chua cared so much about them. From this, it could be seen that these 27 celestial sects were all big celestial sects with great strength. Their goal, without a doubt, was the ominous sword. Since it was for the evil sword, most of them would give it their all. As long as they obtained the evil sword, according to their way of thinking, they would be able to become the rulers of all worlds. But what Su Luluo did not expect was that the speed of the people from the immortal sect was actually so fast. The battle with the Divine Dragon race had just ended, and they had already made their move. Where did you get this news? When did these 27 immortal sects alliance set off? Su Luluo lowered his head and thought for a moment, then asked. 3 days ago, Zijin said anxiously. They should have known about the battle between the Divine Dragon race and Master, so they quickly gathered their immortals and planned to snatch the evil sword. With so many immortals, I'm afraid that even if the Divine Dragon race obtained the evil sword, they would still make a move. How strong would the experts of the 27 immortal sects be when they gathered together? Su Yun had just fought a great battle with the Divine Dragon race. It was impossible for him to resist this power, and retreating was indeed the only way. However, if he were to retreat, would he be able to win? Moreover, wouldn't the many resources in the encampment have to be given to others? Resources were the foundation to support an army. If there were no resources, who would be willing to follow Su Yun? Miss Su, Don't be so anxious about everything. When the boat reaches the bridge, it will naturally go straight. Maybe there are other ways to solve the crisis in front of us. At this moment, a voice floated over from the side. Su Luluo looked towards the direction of the voice and saw a child walking over. Octagon Aniseed? Su Luluo naturally recognized him. All these years, he had spent all his time contacting the great demons of the immortal world, but the great demons of the immortal world were focused on reviving the demon saint, and were restrained, so he did not dare to casually help Su Yin. What method do you have? Seeing how relaxed Octagon Aniseed was, Su Luluo immediately asked. There is a way, but I don't know if it will work. Lord Octagon Aniseed is the vice sect leader of the Devil Sect. His wisdom is unparalleled. Your method must be meticulous. Su Luluo said, compared to Miss Su, it's not enough. Back then, when you led the Supreme Sect, if not for my Demon Lord, our true Devil Sect would have been destroyed by you. Although these words made Su Luluo feel a little uncomfortable, she could tell that it was just a tease from Octagon Aniseed. All right, I won't joke anymore. Actually, the immortals who came this time are still here for the evil sword. 27 immortal sects, that's quite a lot of them. However, with so many immortal sects gathered together, wouldn't that be a mix of fish and dragons? A motley crew? If I release a vicious sword, wouldn't I be able to make them fight until their heads bleed? Kill each other? At that time, we can come out and reap the benefits. Wouldn't all the dangers be resolved? Octagon Aniseed said while beaming. But Su Luluo shook his head. Even though that's the case, but we need to create a fake evil sword. These 27 immortal sects are filled with experts. How can we hide it from their eyes? I believe that other than Su Yun, no one else has seen the evil sword before, and it is impossible for the experts of the 27 immortal sects to have seen it before, so why can't it be faked? As long as the aura is astonishing, it will be able to shock those experts, and they will definitely believe that this is the evil sword. Where can I find such an astonishing aura? This requires the aura of a peerless expert to do so. I wonder if the aura of the Demon Saint is considered strong? Octagon Aniseed smiled. Demon Saint? Su Luluo frowned. The aura of the Demon Saint was definitely filled with demonic nature, filled with ruthlessness, slaughter, and cruelty. Although it could not be compared to the evil sword, it could still intimidate the immortals and temporarily deceive their eyes. Su Luluo thought for a moment, then said to the person beside him, immediately send someone to inform Kai Tian. Tell the people he arranged not to go to the ultimate martial world for the time being. Yes, Mississippi the man turned and left. I'll leave the rest to you. Su Luluo turned and looked at Chi. You must protect Lord Demon Lord well. Don't worry, no one can compare to my brother's position in my heart. Su Luluo said softly. Although his voice was soft, his feelings were heavy. Octagon Aniseed's eyes flickered. He nodded and turned to leave. No one knew if this move would succeed, but it was the only way. It was not that Su Luluo did not want to leave, but if Su Yun was not good, they would not be able to move. The demonic aura continued to surge into the sky, and the Imperial Dark Sword used its own energy to form a barrier to prevent the aura from spreading. However, the gigantic dragon's body gradually disappeared within the terrifying demonic aura, as if it had been devoured by something. The people who were guarding the area looked inside and saw that there seemed to be something in the pitch-black demonic chi. Gradually, the devil chi stopped colliding. Gradually, the devil chi became thinner. At the moment, Su Yun, who was in the devil chi, had already regained some of his consciousness, but it was only a tiny bit. He opened his eyes, but his vision was pitch black. He could not see anything, only waves of intense pain that tore at his soul, attacking the weak consciousness that he had just recovered. Suddenly, a pair of demonic blood eyes appeared in the darkness. It appeared extremely abruptly. Its blood eyes revealed a hint of brilliance. It was especially evil. It was filled with killing intent. Staring at Su Yun, it was extremely cautious. Su Yun was unable to shift his gaze, and even more so, he could not compare his eyes and just stared straight at the pair of blood eyes. Gradually, Su Yun realized that such a feeling was born from the bottom of his heart. Not only that, despair and fear also attacked his heart, as though the pair of blood eyes could take his life at any time. He felt his entire body turn cold, his heart seemed to be covered in frost, and his soul was frozen. This was devil intent, devil Dao will. Su Yun was suddenly alarmed, and right at that moment, he felt the blood in his body suddenly boiling. Following that, waves of intense pain came from his brain, his memories were twitching, and one scene after another quickly flashed in his mind. In the dusky sky and the boundless earth, a gigantic long sword slashed down. However, at the instant the gigantic long sword descended, a gigantic black figure stood up from the ground. He raised both his arms up high and blocked the descending gigantic sword. However, the power of the sword was incomparably great. It slashed down ferociously, and the gigantic black figure's body started to shatter. He was completely unable to resist the terrifying power of the absolute evil universe. His arms started to crumble, his bones cracked, and his power gradually dissipated. However, he still didn't retreat. His spine didn't even bend in the slightest. The sharp sword pressed down bit by bit, and his physical body started to shatter bit by bit. In the end, his entire body collapsed. Blood gushed out like an ocean, spreading out in all directions and drowning everything. As the sharp sword fell, the heaven and earth instantly collapsed, turning into a field of primal chaos. Under the terrifying gigantic sword, the blood-red liquid continued to churn and boil. It was slowly being squeezed dry by the sword's power, but it was still roaring as though it was the giant's unwilling will. The power of the gigantic sword disappeared, and the bright red blood was only the size of a pool. It was still boiling, but after an unknown number of years, it gradually formed the outline of a person. Su Yun's heart twitched. Chapter 1420. The bright red blood seemed to have a life of its own, as if it was the rebirth of the giant. It stood up, but it produced its own devil power over and over again, brandishing its indescribably fierce moves. That huge sword, it was probably the evil sword. Could it be that what he saw just now was the scene of the evil sword destroying the world? Su Yun's heart trembled. Just that, who was that giant? Its aura was like devil chi. Could it be that it was the ancestor of the true devil realm? Even if it was no match for the evil sword, it still dared to fight. Even if its body shattered, it was not afraid, and its will would never be extinguished. Was this the will of the devil Dao? He held his breath and watched as the figure in his mind continued to make all sorts of strange movements. These movements were like moves, but also not like moves. It was as if he was drawing the power of heaven and earth, but also as if he was searching for the endless cycle of reincarnation. Every punch of his seemed to be able to shatter the great Tao, and every palm seemed to be able to shatter the cycle of reincarnation. His blood-red eyes were indifferent to life and death, seeing through the myriad worlds. At this moment, Su Yun suddenly had the illusion that the figure in front of him was not real. It was as if he was the world, the universe. Was this the foundation of the will of the devil Dao? Suddenly, the figure turned around and stared at him with a pair of blood-red eyes. Su Yun's entire body twitched. He felt his vision flashing crazily. One scene after another flashed past his eyes, and when he regained his senses, his vision had already gradually become clear, and his consciousness had also gradually recovered, especially the pain around his body, which was already very weak. He wanted to explore the scene that flashed past and the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, but he found that his feelings were extremely vague, and his memories were becoming more and more profound. There was no need to search for it, much less pursue it. This power existed in his mind. True willpower was accumulated step by step. What's wrong with me? Su Yun thought. He had never had such a strange feeling before. It was as if there had always been something in his body, but he did not know about it. Blood. That monstrous blood? Whoosh. Suddenly, the illusory world disappeared, and a blurry figure appeared in his line of sight. Imperial sword? Su Yun said weakly. Su Yun, are you all right? The Imperial Sword crouched down and said while inspecting Su Yun's body. I'm fine. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. Although he did not have the slightest bit of strength in his body, his consciousness was very clear, and his entire body was filled with a strange, comfortable feeling, as though he was not in a state after a big battle. The Imperial Ming's sword hesitated for a moment, looked at Su Yun, and said, "From the looks of it, you don't seem to be fine." "What?" Su Yun was curious. He sat up and raised his hands, only to see that his hands were actually covered with layers of scales. "These are dragon scales?" He narrowed his eyes. Standing up, with a wave of his hand, a cloud mirror appeared in front of him. Looking at the mirror, Su Yun realized the abnormality. It turned out that his hands and feet were covered in scales, and his eyes had also turned golden. His pupils were like dragon eyes, and there was a bit of coldness in his dignified manner. But other than that, he was no different from a human. "You seem to have absorbed the divine Dragon Clan leader's physical body," the Imperial Darksword said. "I absorbed it." "Yes, after you fought with the Divine Dragon Lord, you were severely injured, and it was difficult for you to preserve your body. However, your true Devil Sect master told me to place your body into the Divine Dragon Lord's body. He did not know what method he used, but after that, he saw you completely absorb the Divine Dragon Lord's body, and the change in your body should be the result of absorbing the dragon's body," the Imperial Sword said. "Most likely, he was using the Divine Dragon's flesh and blood to repair his damaged body. There's no point in guessing right now. Why don't we ask the Sect Master?" Su Yun removed the cloud mirror and turned to leave. "The current situation is not as simple as you think." The Imperial Sword shook its head, a trace of helplessness in its eyes. Su Yun frowned. He did not understand, but Su Luluo flew over and told Su Yun everything. Hearing that, Su Yun's face became serious. Although Su Yun was confident, he understood that his current strength was limited, and it was impossible for him to deal with those powerful forces one after another. One divine dragon race was already enough, and now that there was this group of fellows, if they were to fight again, even if Su Yun's side could win, it would definitely be a Pyrrhic victory. He thought for a moment, then seemed to have made a decision. He said indifferently, "Bring people back to the encampment and wait for news. Also, send people to repair the Great Formation. Try to stall for time. I need time to recover." "Yes." Su Luluo nodded and ordered everyone to return to the encampment. The vast and mighty Nether Demon army followed the allied army immortals and entered the encampment. Although the encampment was big, it could accommodate all of them. Seeing the arrival of the Nether Demon army, the immortals who were still in fear felt a little relieved. At least, they felt that they were not fighting alone. Su Yun knew better than anyone else the importance of the encampment. The cultivation resources that Su Yun had accumulated over the years were piled up here, and these resources were the foundation for Su Yun's allied army. If he lost them, Su Yun would lose this batch of power, just like the Immortal Court back then. When the resources were destroyed, there were immediately internal conflicts that intensified day by day. If Su Yun were to retreat just like that, it would mean that he would have to give up on this batch of power. After all, there were too many cultivators in Su Yun's hands, and there were indeed some who sincerely followed Su Yun, but there were also some who only wanted to borrow Su Yun's strength to cultivate better. Entering the encampment, Su Yun immediately saw the true Devil Sect leader who was already waiting inside the encampment. It turned out that the Sect Master had been watching the battle the entire time. Although he did not appear, Su Yun understood that if it really reached the point of no return, he would take action, and the true Devil Sect leader also deliberately hoped that Su Yun would absorb the Divine Dragon Lord's body. The entire body of dragon was a treasure, and after absorbing it, not only would Su Yun's skin and flesh increase, even the tendons and bones in his body would receive an unprecedented increase. Many immortals dreamed of obtaining a dragon's body, but they were unable to do so. However, Su Yun also found out from the Sect Master that the great demons had already entered his encampment. Thinking back to the great demon statue he saw in the ancient tomb of the true Devil Sect, he was extremely excited and wanted to see it with his own eyes. However, These great demons had all gone into closed-door cultivation after entering the encampment. Adding on his weak body, the great demon's devil chi was extremely heavy, so it was not convenient for him to see them right now. About 4 days later, Zijin returned from the front lines. Naturally, he also brought news of the 27 immortal sections. Under the arrangements of Octagon Aniseed, the 27 immortal sects mistakenly thought that Su Yun was worried that he would not be able to protect the evil sword, and sent people to send the evil sword away, causing all of them to rush towards that group of people. Their goal was the evil sword, and after knowing the whereabouts of the evil sword, who would care about Su Yun? Su Yun did not know how Octagon Aniseed had arranged it. He only knew that after the immortal sects obtained a sword sheath that hid the evil sword, they immediately started fighting. The alliance formed by the 27 immortal sects instantly collapsed, and a life and death battle broke out between them. The scene was extremely chaotic, and several sect leaders of the immortal sects had died miserably, while countless disciples of the sect had died. After a series of battles, the immortal sect had already suffered heavy injuries, but when they discovered that the evil sword was not a real evil sword, but a fake, everyone was dumbfounded and understood that this was Su Yun's plan. This interlude gave Su Yun a lot of time. He seized the opportunity, and in this period of time, he hurriedly adjusted his own condition, and what surprised him was that after fusing with the divine dragon race's body, his recovery ability had increased greatly. Su Yun had originally thought that these people would leave after fighting for a while. After all, their losses were extremely heavy, but the truth was not like that. These people from the immortal sect had been toyed with by Su Yun and suffered huge losses. How could they just leave like that? Although they had suffered losses, they believed that Su Yun's current state was definitely not good. After all, they had just fought a great battle with the divine dragon race, and they were very clear about the strength of the divine dragon race. And it was said that Su Yun's power was only temporarily formed by a few immortal sections. Sure enough, 6 days later, someone came to report that a large number of immortals had appeared outside the encampment. Su Luluo immediately gathered everyone and rushed to the front of the encampment. Looking at the horizon, rows after rows of immortals appeared. Their speed was extremely fast, and they were filled with killing intent and surging immortal chi. They swept towards them, and the power of the heavens seemed to have been swept up by them. Before he even arrived, the killing intent had already arrived. Su Luluo swept his gaze across them. After experiencing the internal strife, these 20-odd immortal sects still had over 1 million immortals. Their numbers were extremely terrifying, and there were also many experts inside. The Imperial Ming sword was originally recuperating, but it immediately rushed over after asking about the situation. Wei Ming, Zijin, Faceless, Qin Xianlong, Xingbai, and the rest also came over. On the side of the true devil sect, only Octagon Aniseed came over. As for the sect master and the other great demons, they did not appear. It seems like the situation isn't as optimistic as we thought. Octagon Aniseed glanced at the immortals in front of him and said with a bitter smile, "Let's think of a way to retreat. If we really fight, I'm afraid we'll be at a disadvantage." His words were very tactful, but Su Luluo and the rest understood what he meant. These immortals were all elite experts of the immortal world, and although his men did not lose in terms of numbers, there was a huge difference in their average strength, especially since they were not in a good state right now. If they fought head-on, the possibility of Su Yun losing was extremely high. They could no longer guarantee that after this batch, there would not be another enemy attack. "Let's see how it goes," Su Luluo said softly. Just then, an immortal flew out, glanced at the encampment in front of him, and the people inside the encampment, then roared, "Su Yun, get out here!" His voice shook the sky, and the chi wave spread out. The faces of some of the injured people in the encampment changed, and they were forced to retreat by the chi wave. Chapter 14:21. Su Yun, get out here! Get out here! Angry roars sounded out continuously. A few immortals were filled with anger as they rushed to the front of the encampment and shouted without any restraint, "Lin Shou, you are after all a supreme expert of the immortal world. How can you be so noisy?" Qin Xianlong stood out and shouted, Qin Qianlong? Among the immortals, a middle-aged man with a goatee laughed coldly. I didn't expect that after not seeing you for so many years, not only did your strength not improve, you even lost your backbone. You actually became someone else's lackey. You. Qin Qianlong was furious and said angrily, Lin Cho, back then, you allowed your disciple to kill 3,000 of my hidden Dragon Hall disciples. I will settle this debt with you. If you want to calculate, we can do it now. Lin Cho was not afraid at all. His eyes were filled with a trace of a smile. Qin Qianlong secretly snorted, but did not dare to make a sound. Lin Cho was the sect leader of the 100 Forest sect. His strength was profound, and there were many experts in the sect. The Hidden Dragon Hall was not their match, and Qin Qianlong himself had fought with Lin Cho before, but he was defeated in less than 20 moves. Although Qin Qianlong's strength had increased greatly after following Su Yun, he was currently injured, so how could he fight? If he was at his peak, he would not be afraid of fighting with Lin Cho. Humph, cowering in fear, not daring fight, only daring to talk big? Hurry up and let your master come out. As for you, obediently scram back. Don't embarrass yourself here. Lin Cho laughed disdainfully. With that said, waves of laughter sounded out from the surroundings. The ridicule provoked Qin Qianlong, causing his breathing to become hurried, and the anger in his eyes became more and more intense. The immortals in the encampment were also gritting their teeth in anger, their veins popping out. They wanted to rush out and fight with these people. Finally, Qin Qianlong jumped out and directly landed in front of the encampment. Qin Qianlong, don't be rash. Wei Ming hurriedly shouted from behind, but it was too late. Everyone knew Qin Qianlong's temperament. How could he endure such humiliation? Furthermore, Lin Cho had an old grudge with him. With the new and old grudges added together, he was unable to suppress his anger. Simply courting death, you still dare to stand out. This time, even your master can't protect you. Lin Cho sneered and directly rushed towards Qin Qianlong. Die! Lin Cho struck out with his palm. Immortal energy collided in his palm. This palm was no small matter. Within the thick, immortal energy, there seemed to be divine power lingering and rippling. Hidden Dragon Fist. Qin Qianlong was not afraid at all. He gathered all the celestial qi in his body into his fist. The wind from his fist seemed to tear the heavens and the earth, and a hidden dragon soared into the sky. He punched toward Lin Cho. The fist and the palm collided. The fist and the palm did not separate immediately after the collision. Instead, they stuck together. However, a large number of explosions occurred where they stuck together. Terrifying waves of divine qi spread in all directions with the two of them as the center. Qin Qianlong's expression changed. His chest heaved a few times, and blood immediately flowed from the corner of his mouth. Lin Cho, on the other hand, looked at Qin Qianlong with a smile. Obviously, he had not used his full strength. Is that all you've got? Ridiculous. Don't you know how to write the word death? Then I'll teach you today. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Cho suddenly shouted. A circle of golden light exploded, and Qin Qianlong's entire body was sent flying. In the air, a violent divine power tore at his body. When he landed on the cloud ground, his entire body was covered in wounds. He looked like a bloody man, and he looked very miserable. Qin Qianlong had been defeated, and he had been utterly defeated. He was no match for Lin Cho in terms of strength, and he had still fought him after being injured. It could only be said that he had been too impulsive. You overestimate yourself. You've been defeated by me before. Today, I'm not in a good mood, and you still dare to disturb me. I'll take your life. Lin Cho said disdainfully. Then, he leaped up and rushed toward Qin Qianlong. His palm formed a claw, and there was a majestic aura like the roar of a dragon and the roar of a tiger. His murderous intent was obvious, and he went straight for Qin Qianlong's heart. Damn it! Xingbai and Faceless both rushed out. Lin Cho wanted to kill Qin Qianlong. How could they remain indifferent? The two of them joined forces and pressed forward. Although Lin Cho wasn't afraid of these people, he was still at a disadvantage fighting one against two. He snorted inwardly and retreated. Xingbai and Faceless landed beside Qin Qianlong and helped him up. Qianlong, are you all right? Xingbai asked anxiously. I'm fine, Qin Qianlong said, but before he could finish, he started coughing. More and more blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. Quick, help him down for treatment, Xingbai shouted hurriedly. A group of disciples from the Hidden Dragon Hall rushed over, helped Qin Qianlong, and ran to the back. After Qin Qianlong was taken away, the immortals once again roared with laughter. The sound of mockery rose and fell, and some people even clutched their stomachs exaggeratedly to show their humiliation. The people in the station were so angry that their faces turned red. However, they were all exhausted. If they fought against these existences again, they wouldn't have much chance of winning. A bunch of trash. Your master is even more of a coward. He still hasn't come out until now. It looks like he wants me to personally kill my way in to find him. Lin Cho smiled as he looked at the people in the station. The mockery and disdain in his eyes became more and more intense. I think you guys shouldn't go too far. Leave some leeway for others to meet in the future. Just then, a voice floated out from the station. Lin Cho and the rest looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a figure slowly walking out from the crowd. It was a man dressed in a grayish-black sword robe. The man's aura was sharp, and his eyes were sharp. His entire person was like a sword. It was obvious that he was a sword cultivator and had reached a certain realm. It was the Imperial Underworld sword. Seeing that, Lin Cho squinted his eyes. He could feel that the Imperial Underworld sword was very strong. If it was just based on strength, he did not have the confidence to completely defeat the Imperial Underworld sword. He was unfathomable. However, he was not afraid now, because the Imperial Underworld sword was injured just like Qin Qianlong. Previously, when the 27 immortal sects were fighting amongst themselves, there were even a few sect leaders who sacrificed their lives in the battle. However, Lin Cho was not injured at all. From the start, he had planned to watch the tigers fight and reap the benefits. In the end, he realized that everyone had fallen into Su Yun's trap. The ominous sword was actually bait, although this matter caused everyone to be filled with regret, and the people from the immortal sects no longer trusted each other. They were all on guard against each other. However, under the common interests, they still regrouped together. Furthermore, after this matter, everyone placed their hatred on Su Yun. If not for Su Yun's plan, would they have lost so many people? Even the people from the immortal sects who had fallen did not leave. They were led by the elders and followed the people from the immortal sections. Although they said that they wanted to take revenge, everyone knew that they just wanted a share of the spoils. The few immortals who stood out were all almighty experts who were unharmed. Those who were injured in the battle and were not in good condition were hiding in the crowd. They could only listen to the arrangements of Lin Cho and the others for now. After all, Lin Cho and the others were very powerful. They could not afford to offend them. However, this did not mean that they would yield. In front of benefits, any weakling would have a greedy heart, and greed could make anyone do anything. Who are you? Lin Cho swept a glance and asked. Imperial Underworld Sword. Imperial Underworld Sword. Lin Cho frowned and looked at the sect leader of the Heavenly Imperial Palace, Tian Song. Someone from the underworld. Tian Song clasped his hand behind his back and stared at the Imperial Underworld Sword with a pair of sharp eyes. I've heard of you. The Imperial Underworld Sword technique dominates the underworld and is extremely famous in the myriad of worlds. It is a sword of death. Once the sword is unleashed, it will definitely drag the opponent into the 9 Underworld Palace. There will be no hope of reincarnation. It is a sword that has been mastered. I never thought that someone from the immortal world would recognize me. The Imperial Underworld Sword said indifferently. Tian Song stared at him and said indifferently, Imperial Underworld Sword, seeing that you are also a tyrant and that you were forced to follow Su Yun, I will be merciful today and let you go. Cripple your own cultivation, hand over the Imperial Underworld Sword technique, and leave. You want me to cripple my own cultivation? And you want me to hand over the Imperial Underworld Sword technique? The Imperial Underworld Sword narrowed its eyes, and a killing intent flashed in its eyes. Tian Song frowned and snorted. Imperial Underworld Sword, don't be so shameless. Although you can be called a king in the underworld, you must know that this is not your underworld. Here, you are nothing. You are just a bunch of trash. So, shouldn't I do something to prove that I am not trash? The Imperial Underworld Sword's voice became cold. What do you want to do? Tian Song frowned and suddenly felt that something was wrong. The Imperial Underworld Sword's mouth curled up and revealed a strange smile. Since you think that I am trash, then do you dare to fight with me? One-on-one. No one is allowed to interfere. Why wouldn't I dare? Tian Song snorted. The Imperial Underworld Sword was injured, so what was there for him to be afraid of? A life and death battle. The Imperial Underworld Sword added. Tian Song's expression changed slightly, and he hesitated. You and I will decide life and death, and we will fight to the death. The Imperial Underworld Sword held his hands behind his back and stood there. Although he was injured, the powerful confidence he displayed did not seem like someone who was injured. Tian Song's expression changed. He was already riding a tiger and could not back down. With so many people here, he could not refuse. Lord Tian Song, what are you afraid of? Isn't it just a small Imperial Underworld Sword? Killing him would be as easy as killing an ant, wouldn't it? Could it be that you want to retreat? If that's the case, you won't be able to save your face. Lin Shou, who was at the side, laughed and said, That's right. Furthermore, the ominous sword is in Su Yun's hands. We will have to fight with Su Yun sooner or later. If you can kill the Imperial Underworld Sword for us and destroy the morale of Su Yun's army, then it will be extremely beneficial to our battle. That way, we can also reduce our consumption, and you can become famous in one battle. There are only benefits and no disadvantages. On the other side, the sect leader of the High Heaven Pavilion, Jianling Xiao, also spoke. These old foxes, they clearly want to use the Imperial Underworld Sword to exhaust me. Tian Song cursed. If he were to fight to the death with the Imperial Underworld Sword, it would definitely affect the snatching of the ominous sword later on. That way, they would have one less competitor. But there was no way out. He had to accept the battle, or else he would lose all his face. He would not be able to stand in the immortal world. Since you want to die, I will grant your wish. Tian Song clenched his teeth and jumped out. Chapter 14:22. Tian Song had no choice but to step forward. Of course, he wasn't worried about losing against the Imperial Sword. Although the Imperial Sword's injuries weren't heavy, they definitely weren't light. Powerful experts could clearly sense that the aura flowing through his body was moving very slowly. This was clearly caused by his previous battle with the Divine Dragon Clan. If he didn't have confidence in dealing with an injured person, then he wouldn't be worthy of being the human lord. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Imperial Sword was a rather powerful figure in the myriad of worlds. He would definitely give it his all in this battle of life and death. If he was injured and couldn't participate in the fight for the ferocious swords later, then it would truly be a loss. What Tian Song was worried about was being injured by the Imperial Sword and not being able to fight for the later benefits, which was why he was hesitating. I have to get rid of this guy as soon as possible, Tian Song thought to himself. The Imperial Sword clasped his hands behind his back and looked at Tian Song. You're still not moving. Could it be that you're afraid? Afraid? Tian Song snorted. I just want you to take a few more breaths so that you won't be able to do so later. With that, Tian Song turned into a shadow and charged at the Imperial Sword. As soon as he moved, the power of heaven and earth was drawn in. A boundless aura followed his body and swept toward the Imperial Sword, wanting to drown it and bury it. This aura is so strong. The Imperial Sword didn't dare to be careless. With a low roar, a slender beam of Imperial Sword chi shot out from its fingers and slashed at Tian Song. In an instant, the Imperial Sword chi tore through the boundless aura and turned into thousands of ghostly claws that latched onto Tian Song's body. What speed! Who would have thought that the Imperial Sword could still move so terrifyingly fast after being injured? It seemed that Lin Shou and the others had underestimated him. Tian Song was alarmed. He knew that he couldn't clash with the Imperial Sword head-on. With a roar, His aura erupted and pressed down on the surroundings. Scram! The Imperial sword was forced back by his boundless aura, but it refused to yield. At the same time, it shouted, "Break!" Bang! The streams of Imperial darkness, sword chi, on Tian Song's body were immediately detonated, causing his body to explode, and he was sent flying. He quickly turned around and stabilized his body before landing on a cloud ground. He lowered his head and saw that his robe was in tatters from the explosion. Although he wasn't injured, he was in a sorry state. Ha ha ha! Kai Tian and the others burst into laughter. This guy called Tian Song isn't much either. You can't even defeat my Imperial Underworld sword when it's injured. You're just someone with an undeserved reputation. Your mouth is very loud, but you don't have any skills. How embarrassing. Trash, get lost. The mockery continued without end. This was a response to Lin Cho, Tian Song, and the others. Sect leader Vast Sky, Jian Lingxiao said coldly, his voice filled with disdain, "If you can't do it, you can concede. Don't embarrass yourself." Tian Song was infuriated, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent as he stared at the Imperial Darksword. "No one can save you today. You must die." As his voice fell, Tian Song suddenly rushed forward. In an instant, a violent gale blew, and a terrifying aura that seemed capable of crushing a human body spread out. Tian Song raised his hands high and sent out 16 palm strikes, shattering mountains and rivers, boundless heaven and earth. Divine force aspect. Only my command. Tian Song spat out the incantation one after another. But the sound waves also contained a terrifying impact that shook the Imperial Darksword. The sound waves directly affected the immortal chi, and the Imperial Darksword felt as if its internal organs were being stirred up. The immortal chi in its body was unstable, and it attacked its internal organs. It secretly held its breath and stared at the 16 palm strikes. The sword in its hand swung out. Each of these 16 palm strikes was terrifying, and if it missed even one of them, the Imperial Darksword would definitely not have a corpse left. Ninth Hell Palace. Open! The Imperial Darksword tore through the void, and a grayish-black void gate appeared from the crack. A large number of palm strikes entered the gate and immediately disappeared. Heaven and Earth Divine Fist. Tian Song attacked again with an aggressive momentum, not giving the Imperial Darksword any chance to catch its breath. His fist swept up the momentum of the world and smashed toward the Imperial Darksword. Even the void was trembling. But at this critical moment, the Imperial Darksword, who had been panting and seemed to be exhausted, suddenly had a cold look in its eyes, and a murderous glint flashed in its eyes. He suddenly raised his arm and swung it forward as he quickly chanted a few incantations. The void in front of the Imperial Darksword rippled, and layers of sword intent swam within the ripples like swimming fish. Tian Song had a bad feeling and wanted to pull back his fist, but it was too late. His fist had already touched the ripples. ZZZT. In the blink of an eye, the ripples spread through Tian Song's entire body like electricity. Tian Song's entire body was enveloped by the ripples and the sword chi within them. The other end of the ripples was still connected to the void, and they were like chains that completely restrained him. He was being controlled. Tian Song's eyes trembled as he struggled madly. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free from these strange chains. Just what kind of terrifying technique was this? Tian Song's soul trembled. He had underestimated the Imperial Darksword from the very beginning. He had underestimated this powerful existence that had dominated the Netherworld. Netherworld shackles. You're already dead. The Imperial Darksword snorted coldly. It immediately gathered a beam of Imperial Darksword chi and slashed at Tian Song. Tian Song couldn't dodge it. Defeat. Everyone's breathing quickened as they stared at the descending sword. The Imperial Darksword's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. That miraculous Imperial Darksword technique had given them a whole new understanding of swordsmanship. Tian Song's face was deathly pale as he stared at the sword chi that was slashing at him. A chill ran down his spine as terror invaded his heart. This was the first time he had realized that death was so close to him, and it was also the first time he had seen how powerful the legendary Imperial Darksword was. The Imperial Darksword had already been able to exchange blows with the Grand Immortal Judge back at the Immortal Court. Ever since he had gone into seclusion after being injured, his cultivation had improved even further. So what if he was injured to deal with Tian Song? How could he possibly look like he was struggling? The victor has been decided. Kai Tian smiled. But at this moment, whoosh, a dark blue gas flew over from the side and directly struck the Imperial Darksword's abdomen. It was so sudden. Pucci, the Imperial Darksword's aura was thrown into chaos when it was struck. It fell backwards, and the chains binding Tian Song immediately dissipated. It was Jian Lingxiao. He had made his move. Despicable. Kai Tian and the others roared in anger. Their eyes were bloodshot as they madly charged at the Imperial Darksword. Jian Lingxiao had actually launched a sneak attack. He had ignored the previous agreement and launched a sneak attack on the Imperial Darksword. Chance! How could Tian Song dare to slack off? He immediately leaped up and slammed his palm towards the Imperial Darksword's head. This murderous aura was completely unexpected. Shameless. Tian Song's and Jian Lingxiao's actions made everyone present feel disdain. After all, the Imperial Darksword's words to Tian Song had been clearly heard by both sides. However, Jian Lingxiao had dared to casually break the agreement, and Tian Song had even shamelessly tried to kill him. But even so, the Imperial Hellsword was powerless to do anything. That was because this was a world where the strong were respected. Powerful people would not talk reason or trust with you. The only thing they cared about was the result. So what if they were despicable? The true victor would always have a holy image. Even if Jian Lingxiao had done this, who would dare to punish him? No one dared to punish him because no one had the ability to. So what if Tian's group was furious? Jian Lingxiao calmly looked at the people in the encampment. In his eyes, these people were nothing but a bunch of jumping clowns. He could do whatever he wanted. The rules here were also in his hands. Who would dare to defy him? This was a world where the strong were respected. The crowd looked at Jian Lingxiao. Many people's eyes were filled with fear. Tian Song's movements were too fast. Only Sky and Faceless couldn't make it in time. Was this move really going to take the Imperial Darksword's life? The crowd was alarmed. The Imperial Darksword raised its eyes and glared at Tian Song. It wanted to counterattack, but it was too late. Was it over? The Imperial Darksword took a deep breath. However, at this critical moment, Tian Song, who was charging toward the Imperial Darksword with an unstoppable momentum, suddenly disappeared. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief as they stared at the spot where Tian Song had disappeared. He disappeared in an instant. A living person had vanished into thin air. Could it be Tian Song's move? What was going on? Where was Tian Song? There he is. At this moment, a voice cried out in alarm. At this moment, Tian Song had already appeared in the camp of the Allied forces. No one could react in time, including Tian Song himself. The scene before him suddenly changed, and he lost sight of the royal underworld sword. He hurriedly stood up and looked to his left and right, only to see a skinny young man in a black robe standing next to him. The man's head was lowered, and the hood covered most of his face, so only half of his pale face could be seen. What's going on? Tian Song's heart jumped, but in the next second, an aura suddenly attacked him. Tian Song was shocked and immediately tried to block. But when the aura descended, it was invincible and unstoppable. His defensive technique was immediately disintegrated, and the terrifying aura was like a paper window being sliced apart, descending in an instant. Pucci, one of Tian Song's arms was chopped off, and blood spurted out. Ah! Tian Song let out a mournful scream. In the distance, Lin Shou and Jian Lingxiao frowned as they looked at the scene in the encampment. Who was that person? How could he so easily injure Tian Song? But before they could size him up, they saw the figure in the black robe sway. Then, Tian Song's other arm flew up and fell to the ground. Both of Tian Song's arms were chopped off, and blood spurted out like a fountain, stimulating everyone's hearts. Tian Song was actually stripped of his fighting strength by this person, Su Yun. Just then, Lin Cho suddenly let out a low growl. He had already recognized this person. It was Su Yun. Chapter 1423. Su Yun. Hearing Lin Chao's low roar, the people from the celestial sect immediately went into an uproar. Was this man in black robes Su Yun? He seemed to be very powerful. Although his sudden attack was somewhat of a sneak attack, it must be known that Tian Song's strength was still there. Although he was suppressed by the Imperial Underworld Sword, there was more carelessness involved. If he had not been trapped by the strange ripple, the Imperial Underworld Sword would not have had the chance to hurt him. In the end, the reason why Tian Song lost was because of the Imperial Underworld Sword technique. That was what everyone thought. However, at that moment, everyone's attention was attracted by the man in black robes. In less than a few breaths of time, Tian Song's arms were cut off by Su Yun. This was simply inconceivable. Was Tian Song's defense fake? Was his physical body so weak and fragile? No one knew, but one thing was clear, and that was that Tian Song could no longer return. Tian Song, who had fallen into the encampment alone, was like a rabbit that had fallen into a pack of wolves. It was impossible for him to jump out. As expected, Tian Song, who had both his arms cut off, had no way of surviving. Su Yun lightly shouted kill. The immortals beside him immediately rushed over and dissected Tian Song's body. Just as his soul came out, it was captured. On the other side, Lin Cho, Jin Ling Xiao, and the others' gazes froze, but they didn't make a sound. The people of Heavenly Imperial Palace widened their eyes. They were so shocked that their mouths were so wide open that one could stuff an egg inside. They just watched as their sect leader was killed without any power to resist. Previously, they were still immersed in the battle between Tian Song and the Imperial Underworld Sword. When they saw that Tian Song was about to kill the Imperial Underworld Sword, they were extremely excited. But in less than 20 seconds, such a shocking change had occurred. Tian Song was alive and well, but now his body was destroyed and his soul was imprisoned. Such a sharp contrast was simply unacceptable. Su Yun's face was cold as he walked out of the encampment. When the people from the Allied forces who were guarding the encampment saw the person who walked out, their eyes were filled with excitement and respect. They looked at Su Yun with fanatical eyes, and gradually, there was something special in them. Faith. That's right, the current Su Yun, in many people's eyes, was already a faith. Conquering the underworld, fighting the immortal court, killing the president, and even slaughtering the divine Dragon Clan leader. Which one of them wasn't earth-shattering? For these immortals, this was something they didn't even dare imagine. However, the person in front of him had done it. He stared ahead, his eyes calm. Even if there were millions of enemies there, he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. He bravely stepped forward as a natural aura silently gushed out from his body. These people from the Allied forces seemed to be affected by this aura. The fear in their hearts suddenly disappeared without a trace. They turned their heads and looked at the people on the other side. There was no longer any fear in their eyes. What happened? Lin Cho sharply sensed this change. When Su Yun appeared, the entire Alliance army's immortal temperament became different. Confidence. He was very confident. This was a kind of absolute confidence that they could win, a kind of confidence that no matter what happened, they would be the last to laugh. Why? Did Su Yun give these people confidence? Why did he have to do this? Why? Lin Cho snorted inwardly. Since you guys are so confident, just watch how I shatter your confidence. You must be Su Yun. Lin Cho spoke indifferently to the person who walked out of the encampment. Immediately bring your men and scram. What welcomed him was Su Yun's cold words. You're courting death. Lin Chao's face turned cold. Don't worry, you will definitely die in front of me. Su Yun did not retreat at all. Lin Cho clenched his teeth. He wanted to give the order to kill Su Yun right now, but he knew that it was already too late. Su Yun's appearance had increased the confidence of the Allied forces. Their morale had risen, adding that Song Tian did not successfully kill the Imperial Underworld Sword. breaking the enemy's morale, and instead losing his own life, they had already missed the best time to attack. Even if they mobilized all the immortals to attack the encampment, it would only result in mutual destruction. Even if they successfully destroyed the allied forces, they would still suffer heavy losses. Lin Cho did not dare guarantee that he would be safe with millions of immortals charging at him. Since that was the case, he might as well kill Su Yun first. If Su Yun died, then the allied forces would be in a state of disunity. At that time, he would be able to summon them, and not only would he be able to obtain the ominous sword without bloodshed, he would also be able to obtain an even stronger force to strengthen himself. Thinking about that, Lin Chao's eyes flashed with a cold light. Su Yun, the competition between the Imperial Underworld Sword and Tsang Tian was originally fair. Why did you suddenly interfere and break the rules? And you even killed the sect leader of Tsang Tian. Imprison his soul. Do you know what you've done? Do you know your crime? Lin Cho shouted out righteously. Break the rules? If you truly want to follow the rules, why would I, Su Yun, break it? When Jianling Shao interfered and broke the rules, were you all blind? Why didn't you say him but me? Su Yun asked coldly. When did I make a move? Su Yun, don't you dare lie with your eyes wide open. This sovereign has been watching the battle from the side, but did not make any moves. If you don't believe me, you can ask the immortals behind me. They all saw it with their own eyes. Jianling Shao said indifferently. Shameless. We all saw it. Kai Tian, Faceless, and the rest were enraged. You are Su Yun's men. Of course you will help Su Yun. Jianling Shao sneered. You. Kai Tian was speechless, but there was nothing he could do. Su Yun stared at Jianling Shao, and after a while he said indifferently, in this world, the weak are prey to the strong. The so-called truth is that whoever has the bigger fist is the one in the right. But even so, you should not lose your bottom line. In this world, there are too many people like you who rely on their own strength to ignore the rules. And that is why there is no order in this world. I disdain to argue with you. That will only make me feel humiliated. The immortals on both sides know the truth. With that said, both sides quietened down. Jianling Shao frowned. He looked at the immortals behind him, snorted, and said, You don't have to pretend to be so high and mighty. How can I not know who you are? Sect Leader Lin, these despicable people are vermin of the immortal world. They must be eliminated. Lin Cho nodded and said, Su Yun, disregarding human life, cruel and heartless, slaughtering my sect's disciples. And just a few days ago, you slaughtered the divine dragon clan of the immortal world. Don't you know your sins? If you want to incriminate someone, you can always find a pretext. Furthermore, even if I am guilty, how can it be your turn to care? Su Yun snorted lightly and said indifferently, Who are you? I am Lin Cho, the sect leader of the 100 Forest sect of the immortal world. You don't even know my name? You are truly ignorant. Lin Cho said with disdain. Ignorant and ill-informed? I guess so, but the matter between me and the Divine Dragon Clan. Why are you getting involved? For you to stand up for them. Could it be that the Divine Dragon Clan is your father? Or your mother? Su Yun laughed. Immediately, laughter came out from the encampment, rising and falling. Lin Chao's face was ugly. The anger in his eyes was very obvious. Bastard, you think you are amazing just because you killed the Grand Immortal Judge? In my eyes, you are just trash. If you have the guts, do you dare to fight me? Lin Cho said coldly. Although Su Yun had erased the sky and stood out without fear, Lin Cho believed that Su Yun's current state was definitely worse than the Imperial Ming Sword. He was holding on. He had been paying attention to the conflict between the Divine Dragon Clan and Su Yun for a long time, and had immediately sent spies over to keep an eye on him. After the battle between the Divine Dragon Clan and Su Yun erupted, the spies had been sending news of the battle to him at all times, so he had temporarily organized the immortals to come and snatch the evil sword. In that battle, Su Yun was heavily injured, although there were people who would heal him, but with such heavy injuries in such a short period of time, even a great Luo Golden Immortal would not be able to recover. So, Lin Cho believed that he could definitely defeat Su Yun easily. If Su Yun did not agree to his suggestion and did not dare to fight with him, then the confidence that Su Yun had brought to the Allied forces' encampment would instantly collapse. The morale of the Allied forces' encampment would plummet, and he would have the chance to attack. If Su Yun bit the bullet and agreed, then that would be even better. Lin Shou believed that he would definitely be able to easily kill Su Yun, and then become the master of all immortals, obtain the evil sword, and rule over 10,000 worlds. This was a meeting, an opportunity bestowed to him by the heavens. He had to grasp it well. Sect leader Lin Shou, you are powerful and have a high position. Why would you need to take action against this trash? Let me fight this battle. Right at this moment, Jian Lingxiao suddenly stepped forward and spoke. Sect leader Jian Lingxiao, why use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? You and sect leader Lin Shou are both almighty beings of the immortal world. Your strength is extraordinary. Let me take care of this trash. I will fight this person. Everyone, there is no need to be so polite. Let me do it. Just then, the leaders of the immortal sects all stood up and expressed that they could get rid of Su Yun. Lin Shou looked, and his expression changed. This bunch of fellows all knew of the benefits involved. That was why they all stood out. Lin Shou cursed them for being shameless and was about to speak. But just then, a voice floated over. I refuse. The one who spoke was Su Yun. These 3 simple words expressed his intentions. Lin Shou was startled. He did not expect Su Yun to reject him so straightforwardly. He was slightly disappointed, but he did not forget to mock Su Yun. Trash is truly trash. You don't have much ability and only know how to move your lips. I truly feel heartache for the experts that follow you. If they were under me, they would not be in such a situation. Hearing Lin Xiao's words, Jian Lingxiao and the rest all cursed Lin Shou for being an old fox in their hearts. Although his words were meant to harm Su Yun, it was also meant to sow discord between Su Yun and the immortals behind Su Yun. It was truly killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Jian Lingxiao naturally would not show weakness. He snorted and said, Su Yun, since you do not dare to fight, then cripple your own cultivation and obediently surrender. I will treat the immortals behind you well. If they are willing to follow me, my high heaven pavilion will definitely not treat them badly. Me too. The other sect leader immediately shouted out, all of them fighting to be the first, causing the people on Su Yun's side to be speechless. They had not even fought yet, and the other party was already thinking of dividing up the people here. But Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, don't misunderstand. The reason why I refuse is not because I do not dare to fight with you, but because fighting is meaningless. Because this kind of one-on-one battle had already been played out just now. Originally, the people you sent out were already dead. However, someone was shameless and sneakily attacked, causing the people on my side to almost lose their lives. Since we have agreed to fight one-on-one, how can others interfere in a battle of life and death? From this, it can be seen that you are just a group of people who do not keep their promises. Why should I duel with you? If I were to win, wouldn't you all still interfere? If that's the case, then what's the point of dueling? Since that's the case, it's better to refuse. Su Yun's words were spread far and wide. Hearing that, Jian Lingxiao was extremely angry. Even a fool could tell that Su Yun was talking about him. Chapter 1424. Hearing Lin Xiao's words, Lin Xiao's eyes flashed and said solemnly, Su Yun, don't worry this time. No one will act recklessly. Between you and me, we can fight fairly. If you say it's fair, then it's fair. If you want to fight, then we have to fight. Su Yun said coldly. Who do you think you are? You. Lin Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent. Su Yun, do you want to fight me head-on? Then do you think that fighting you one-on-one can avoid us fighting head-on? Su Yun raised his eyebrows. If we fight head-on, there will definitely be countless deaths and injuries. No one is willing to do that. Our goal here is only you. If you die, I said before that we won't touch the people behind you. But if you die, to me, it doesn't have much meaning. Then you're going to fight or not. Lin Shou seemed to have lost his patience. He did not know why, but he hated Su Yun's gaze. Although he always had a cold face, but when he looked at these people, his gaze was indifferent, always filled with indifference. It was as if he did not care about these people at all. Fight! Su Yun spat out a word. In the end, he still compromised. Lin Cho chuckled, while Jian Lingxiao secretly snorted, obviously very dissatisfied with Su Yun's reply. But at this moment, Su Yun added another sentence. However, fighting with Lin Cho alone is boring. You guys come and me together. He raised his hand and pointed at the person standing with Lin Cho and Jian Lingxiao. With that said, the entire audience went into an uproar. These were all the sect leaders of the great immortal sects. Most of them had already reached the peak of the spirit god realm, and there were faint signs of them stepping past this realm. Amongst them, Lin Chao's cultivation was the highest. Su Yun could feel that his qi was different from the other sect leaders and was a level higher. However, he had purposely disguised it, making his qi the same as theirs, to confuse those people. Lin Cho was extremely shocked, although he did not understand Su Yun very well. But to be able to kill the great immortal court, fight against the group of dragons, and kill the divine dragon race, no matter what, he would not be an impulsive fool. Then, without a doubt, the young man in front of him definitely had the strength to fight, and was even confident. Just how strong was he? His injury? Could it be that it was not as serious as he had imagined? Lin Cho hesitated, his expression changing. He did not know why, but he suddenly felt a tinge of regret. Maybe he should not have talked so much nonsense with Su Yun, and should have attacked. If he won, then he would have won. If he couldn't win, then he would have thought of a way to protect himself. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Instead, you barge into hell. Su Yun, don't think that just because you killed the Dragon Lord, you could be lawless and arrogant. You want to challenge us. You're not qualified. If I want to kill you, I alone am more than enough. Today shall be the day of your death. One of the sect leaders sneered and actually moved out, pouncing towards Su Yun. Su Yun's name had already shaken the immortal world. If he could kill him, he would definitely be filled with glory, and he would be able to establish his might amongst the millions of immortals. How could he miss it? As for Jian Lingxiao and the others, when they saw that someone had already taken a bait, how could they let him eat alone? They immediately rushed towards Su Yun. The people here were actually fighting to be the first, afraid that Su Yun would be killed by the others. But right at this moment, a ray of blood light flashed past everyone's eyes. The person who was the first to rush towards Su Yun did not even have the time to make a move. His body suddenly shattered, and blood splattered in all directions like a blooming rose. The people who were rushing towards Su Yun felt their hearts twitch. They stared at the place where the blood was, and shockingly discovered that the space there was completely distorted, and inside the distorted space, there was a restless sword chi, using the terrifying sword chi, forcefully splitting space, killing a peak spirit god expert. This was only one move. To him, brandishing the sword intent was as easy as breathing. Is that all you have? Su Yun said indifferently. He was not courteous. He waved his hand. The sword chi surged. The sword chi that shot out from the void were like fireflies dancing randomly. They were only the size of rice grains, but with terrifying destructive power, they rushed towards the immortals. What exquisite control! What kind of terrifying level of comprehension did one have to reach in the way of the sword to be able to do this? Lin Chao's eyes trembled as he stared at the sword chi. That was a sword chi condensed from the purest divine power. It was completely different from ordinary sword chi. It was a world of difference. He didn't dare to go up, and he wasn't in a hurry either, because he already knew that the current Su Yun still had the strength to fight. Long Snow, a white-robed immortal, clapped his hand, and endless ice and snow rushed out from his palm, like a silver river streaking across the sky. The surrounding temperature dropped, and the disciples of the immortal sects trembled, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Sword piercing the 9 heavens, breaking everything. Su Yun bellowed. The sword chi leaked out. The terrifying sword intent seemed to want to force everyone away. Puff! The sword chi burst forth, as if it was going to break through the heavens. In the next second, countless transparent holes suddenly appeared on the white-robed immortal's body. Like a kite with its string cut, he fell straight down, accompanied by bright red blood. Dead. His internal organs and immortal meridians were all pierced through by the rice grain-sized sword chi, and he died a miserable death. Another sect leader had fallen. Moreover, it was another move. The other sect leaders were terrified when they saw this. Su Yin was too strong. No wonder he was able to kill the great immortal judge and the divine dragon race leader. He definitely did not rely on luck to do this. Everyone's hearts were already palpitating. Don't be too arrogant. Die. An immortal covered in muscles, his entire body emitting a golden light, leaped up. A gigantic war god image appeared behind him. Holding onto a large axe, he chopped toward Su Yun. A tyrannical aura swept out, forcing the millions of people on both sides to retreat, not daring to move forward. So am I. Su Yun bellowed. With him, as the center, a formless and sharp pressure spread out like a storm, causing all the immortals who were rushing over to stop in their tracks, their breathing becoming unbearable, and there was a strange pressure on their bodies. It was as if a sharp sword was placed on their necks, preventing them from taking even half a step forward. The illusory figure of the war god was enveloped by the sword might, and its originally resplendent body immediately dimmed by a few points. The tyrannical edge of the axe also weakened by a few points. Su Yun stretched out a finger with one hand, and a faint sword chi burst out from his fingertip, transforming into a chi sword. With a swing of his arm, the 3-foot-long chi sword swayed, and in an instant it became tens of thousands of zhang long, as though it could slash the heavens, and in the blink of an eye, it sliced the war god apart. When the big-sized man fell, he did not leave at all, and directly fell to the ground, motionless. A moment later, his enormous body turned into countless pieces the size of tofu. Dead. Another move. It was simply a slaughter of pigs and dogs. The remaining immortals did not dare to move forward. One of them looked at Su Yun in fear. Strong. Too strong. If the peak of the spirit god realm was slaughtered just like that, then what about the returning ruins? An expert at the returning ruins level. He was afraid that he would not be able to drink Su Yun's milk. Lin Shou was completely trembling. This time, he finally understood why Su Yun had such a gaze ever since he appeared. That kind of indifferent gaze. It was not that Su Yun was pretending. From the beginning, he did not care about these so-called experts, the so-called sect leader. It was laughable that he still wanted to fight him one-on-one. With this kind of strength, even Lin Shou might not be able to defeat Su Yun, right? Suddenly, Lin Shao's heart was filled with sorrow. Now that the grand immortal judge was dead, the Dragon Clan leader was also dead. Moreover, they had all died at the hands of this unknown person. The immortal world of the past would probably cease to exist soon. Perhaps the fate that followed would really be handed over to these up-and-coming youngsters. Let's go. Right at this moment, Jian Lingxiao suddenly let out a low shout and turned around with the intention of fleeing. But just as he was about to attack, Su Yun had already reacted. His body flashed and suddenly appeared in front of Jian Lingxiao. A faint sword chi swept through the air and slashed towards him. Long sword whistling through the sky. Jian Lingxiao's nerves tensed up. He roared, and a heaven-splitting sword light rushed out from his body, blocking the incoming sword chi. The sword light and sword chi stuck together, releasing a terrifying sound. The sword chi was like steel needles, shooting in all directions. Seeing that Jian Lingxiao was actually able to withstand Su Yun's attack, the immortals who were about to escape stopped in their tracks, their killing intent rising. Those two fellows just now must have been careless. That's why they were killed by this guy. We have so many people. There's no reason to be afraid of him. Kill. One of them roared. Hearing that, everyone felt that it was reasonable and rushed forward. Is that so? Su Yun snorted. He suddenly raised his other hand, and with a move of his finger, he actually shot out a 3-foot-long sword chi. Seeing that, Jian Lingxiao's eyes trembled. He knew that something was wrong. Su Yun waved his arm. The sword chi directly cut towards the person who was pouncing over. The sword image flashed, and then instantly disappeared. Only the faint qi in the air was still surging. As for the people who were rushing towards Su Yun, their bodies all froze in place. The people on both sides all opened their eyes wide. Seeing this scene, everyone held their breaths, their hearts beating violently, but they did not dare to make the slightest sound. What was going on? Those people, why aren't they moving? Everyone stared at the figures standing in front of Su Yun, and all of them were puzzled and doubtful. But in the next second, they understood. However, those frozen figures suddenly all shattered, and each of their bodies turned into the size of tofu, falling down one by one. All dead. Of all the experts, only Jian Lingxiao was left. Terrifying. This was simply too terrifying. Just how strong was Su Yun? Not to mention Lin Shou, even Kai Tian, Wei Ming, and the others in the encampment were shocked. They realized that Su Yun's strength seemed to be much stronger than when he was fighting against the Divine Dragon Lord. And his injuries. Was there really no problem? They did not know that after Su Yun devoured the Divine Dragon Lord, his realm had already reached the peak. These people were simply not on the same level as him. Lin Shao's eyes flashed. He knew that it would be difficult for the Immortal Sect Alliance army to bite off Su Yun's big bone. Chapter 1425. How could Jian Lingxiao dare to provoke such a ferocious person? He immediately retracted his sword and retreated. But when the sword qi slashed down, the chaotic qi crazily slashed at his body, leaving behind 1,000 sword scars. In a battle between the strong, it was a battle of momentum. Once one retracted their attack, they would not be able to escape unscathed. Jian Lingxiao was so scared that his spine turned cold. If not for his fast reaction and powerful body, the sword qi would have already pierced through his body, and he would have been like those immortals, sliced into tofu dregs. This guy was so powerful. Jian Lingxiao immediately fled. He did not care about Lin Shou and the rest, and ran in the opposite direction. Right now, the most important thing was to preserve his life. Who would care about that evil sword? If he didn't even have his life, what was the use of those worldly possessions? Can you run? Su Yun suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the air. His arm flashed, and his originally flat arm suddenly grew thick and heavy scales. Dragon scales. The vigorous hand turned into a sharp claw and pierced into the air. At the same time, a void appeared behind Jian Lingxiao. Jian Lingxiao was startled, and before he could react, he was grabbed by the sharp claw, and his entire body was dragged into the void, back to Su Yun's side. Jian Lingxiao's eyes were filled with endless fear. He started to regret it. Why did he listen to Lin Shao's slander and come here? Not only did he not obtain the evil sword, he even lost his life. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Jian Lingxiao roared. He could feel the dense god power from Su Yun's body enveloping him. You only know how to regret it now? It's too late. Su Yun said coldly, if you don't kill me, I am willing to do anything for you. Jian Lingxiao shouted in despair. But his words did not have any allure to Su Yun. I only want your life now. Su Yun snorted. The god power suddenly tightened, and Jian Lingxiao's body immediately exploded. Jian Lingxiao dead. When Lin Shou and the other immortals saw this cruel scene, they all opened their eyes wide and held their breaths. No one dared to make a single sound, as they were still immersed in Su Yun's terrifying might. Apart from the few who died in the infighting, the rest of the 27 sect masters were all killed. Only Lin Shou was left. Lin Shou took a deep breath and looked at the extremely arrogant person. The fear in his eyes was gradually revealed. I never thought that I would have misjudged you this time. You are actually so powerful. If he knew that Su Yun was so powerful, Lin Shou, would not have come even if he was beaten to death. Moreover, Lin Shou still had something that he was extremely worried about. It was the ominous sword. Since the ominous sword was with Su Yun, Lin Shou was curious why Su Yun did not use it. Many people thought that Su Yun was weak and could not control the ominous sword, but Lin Shou thought that there must be other reasons, causing him to be unable to use the ominous sword, or maybe he did not dare to use it. But no matter what, Lin Shou knew that if he truly fought with Su Yun, he had to guard against the ominous sword, and only by suppressing him with his strength, causing him to be unable to use the ominous sword, could he defeat him. But from the looks of it now, it was impossible. "Why aren't you going?" Su-yin stared at Lin Cho and said indifferently. The killing intent in his eyes was already very obvious. Lin Cho was the creator and instigator of the Alliance Army, so Su-yin could not let him go. Lin Cho also knew this, but in a one-on-one fight, Lin Cho knew that he had no chance of winning. After thinking about it, he suddenly took a deep breath and took out his own magic treasure, a long spear. When he was fighting against Qin Qianlong, he did not even use his own life weapon. "Su-yin, don't be too arrogant. You were able to kill these Lord Realm experts because you secretly used the power of the ominous sword. From what I know, the power of the ominous sword cannot be maintained for too long, which means very soon your power will become extremely weak. You are just bluffing. Don't think that I don't know." With that said, the immortals behind Lin Cho immediately revealed looks of understanding. No wonder Su-yin was so fierce, so he was borrowing the power of the ominous sword. That's right, so many sect leaders had died in Su-yin's hands, they were unable to accept it. So this was the most reasonable explanation. Lin Chao's explanation was not far-fetched. Many people accepted his words and believed that after a while, Su-yin's strength would increase by a lot, and in that moment, the people who were afraid also became confident. Was this the power of lies? Su-yin smiled faintly. It was a smile of disdain. "Since it's like that, Lin Cho, then you guys can make your move." He raised his hand, and in that moment, the Heaven Realm army behind him immediately raised their blades and swords, as though they were preparing to attack. Lin Chao's face was ugly. Although he held on his spear, he did not rush forward, but retreated a few steps and shouted loudly. "Heroes of the immortal world, young geniuses of the various sects. Did you see it clearly? The person in front of you. It was this person who just used the power of the ominous sword to despicably kill your sect leader. Not only that, he also killed the noble divine dragon tribe leader. How could such a person who committed such a heinous crime be forgiven? Now, I order you all to wait. Charge at all costs. Kill this person. Kill. Kill. Charge." Lin Cho shouted, his voice impassioned. The immortals finally could not hold it in any longer. With a roar, millions of people poured down. "Kill!" Kai Tian shouted and was about to rush forward, but just then, Su-yin suddenly shouted and said indifferently, "Wait." Kai Tian froze. Su-yin suddenly took out a huge fan and stood at the front of the crowd. He stared at the immortals who were rushing over, raised his fan, and fiercely fanned down. A violent wind blew, and the sky darkened. The destructive wind was like the merciless scythe of the death god, flying forward under the fanning of the profound feather fan. The thousands of immortals at the front were blown away by the violent wind in an instant. Their entire bodies turned into particles, and the ones at the back were also dismembered by the violent wind. Cut into 8 pieces, it was extremely miserable. Seeing that, Lin Cho was stunned. What kind of terrifying method was this? Especially in such a large-scale battle between immortals, the destructive power of this fan was simply immeasurable. Su-yin waved the feather fan in another direction. The huge feather fan fell extremely slowly, but this slow fall gave birth to an endless and terrifying power. Under the violent wind, the body of an immortal did not have any strength to speak of. Even the current Su-yin would not be able to withstand the wind. So far, the only person who could contend against this terrifying wind was the great immortal judge. In fact, Su-yin did not know that the reason why the great immortal judge was able to withstand the wind was because of a treasure in his hands, the air-calming pearl. And now, no one knew where the pearl was. The million-strong army was directly defeated by these 2 fans. Su-yin's current strength was extremely terrifying, and the power of the profound feather fan in his hands was also countless times stronger than before. The current profound feather fan's power was completely released, and it was as if it was going to destroy the world. Kai Tian was not an idiot. Seeing this scene, he immediately understood Su-yin's intentions and immediately rushed forward. These two fans were extremely important. Not only did it completely destroy the formation of the Immortals, it also destroyed their morale. If Kai Tian and the rest rushed forward, it would only become a one-sided massacre, a harvest. The army was in chaos, defeated, completely defeated. Everyone was running, and no one could stop Su Yun, which meant that no one could destroy them. There was no chance of victory. Su Yun stared at the panicking crowd, his eyes quickly sweeping across them. Finally, at the center of the crowd, Lin Chao's panicked figure was reflected in his eyes. He escaped really quickly. However, this guy seemed to have planned to escape from the start, mobilizing the army to attack Su Yun. To buy time for himself to escape, Su Yun snorted, his body moved, and like a phantom, he rushed towards Lin Chao. "Quick! Stop him! Quick, stop him!" Feeling the surging sword intent behind him, Lin Chao's face changed, and he immediately shouted. The 100 Forest Sect disciples on both sides immediately rushed out, trying to stop Su Yun, to buy time, but Su Yun was like a sharp sword, unstoppable. Before Su Yun could even get close to them, they were torn apart by the tyrannical sword chi. "You want to leave just like that?" Su Yun snorted, extended his hand again, and grabbed the air. Whoosh! Lin Chao, who was running for his life, was immediately grabbed by the neck, and before he could react, he was grabbed to Su Yun's side. But he seemed to have expected Su Yun to do this, and with a flip of his hand, he slapped towards Su Yun's chest. The palm seemed to contain flood, volcano, lightning, blizzard, and other natural powers. It was boundlessly profound, and vaguely seemed to be able to encompass the entire universe. It was no small matter. Su Yun frowned, and raised his hand to strike. Bang! His body trembled slightly. But Lin Chao was like a kite with its string cut, flying far away, and even spitting out a mouthful of blood in the air. Lin Chao had already stepped into the origin deity realm. Although he had just entered, he was not someone Jian Ling Xiao, Tian Song, and the others could compare to. Although it was only a palm, Lin Chao knew the difference between him and Su Yun from this palm. If they fought, he would definitely not be able to win. He held back a mouthful of blood, turned around, and rushed back, planning to continue running. But how could Su Yun let Lin Chao go so easily? He shouted loudly, and his body turned into a gust of wind, chasing after him. "Get out of the way!" When the immortals on the road saw the aggressive Su Yun, fear arose in their hearts, and no one dared to stop him. With a swoosh, Su Yun instantly jumped in front of Lin Chao, sword chi following. The limitless sword arts was activated, and countless sharp swords formed around Lin Chao, completely sealing off his path of retreat. Lin Chao's expression was extremely ugly. He looked left and right, knowing that he could no longer escape. He immediately said, "Su Yun, why must you kill me? The ominous sword is yours. I will definitely not find trouble with you again. Can you let me go?" "Now you're begging me to let you go? Don't you think it's too late?" Su Yun said indifferently. "What exactly do you want?" "I want your life." His killing intent was awe-inspiring. "You." Lin Chao gritted his teeth and said solemnly, "If you kill me, you will not have a good ending. The Eternal Heaven Gods Council will not let you go." "You also have a connection with the Eternal Heaven Gods Council?" Su Yun was slightly surprised. Hearing Su Yun's tone, Lin Chao's eyes lit up, and he sneered. "That's right. Although I'm new, the Eternal Heaven Gods Council strength is far from what you can compare to." "Su Yun, you've already killed the Divine Dragon Patriarch. The Eternal Heaven Gods Council has their eyes on you. If you let me go now, I can still go to the Eternal Heaven Gods Council to plead for leniency on your behalf and ask them to deal with you leniently. Wouldn't that be even better? Plead for leniency? No need." Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, "I think you should just pray for yourself." With that said, his finger moved, and the sword chi beside him instantly chopped off both of his arms. "Ah!" Lin Chao let out a heart-wrenching scream. "You, that Eternal Heaven Gods Council, I was just about to ask for some advice. Since you guys want to kill me, don't think that I will let you go." Su Yun snorted, his finger moved again, and the surrounding sword chi attacked, instantly killing Lin Chao. Chapter 1426. With Lin Chao's death, The remaining sect disciples lost their backbone. Su Yin did not show any mercy and ordered Kai Tian to continue chasing. Although they were only disciples of the sect, Su Yin would not be merciful. Since they had come, they should bear the consequences of their actions. Furthermore, if they did not kill them and let them go back, they would be taken in by others in the future and would pose a threat to Su Yin. Furthermore, Su Yin wanted to establish his might and let those blind sects know that if they came to offend him, he would definitely kill them all. After taking care of the immortal sect alliance, Su Yin immediately entered the encampment and went into closed-door cultivation. After absorbing the divine dragon race's body, the recovery of his body and the circulation of his divine power had been greatly increased. His previous injuries had also been completely healed in a short period of time. This kind of surprise was simply unimaginable to him, and experiencing this battle, he also had some comprehension. Vaguely, he had a restlessness to want to cross over to the origin deity realm. However, after being in seclusion for 6 to 7 days, he still hadn't broken through, causing him to smile bitterly. The matter of cultivating Tao must not be rushed, but this kind of feeling of neither going up nor down was truly unbearable. But this also showed that the might after the origin deity realm was not what ordinary people could understand. After exiting the cultivation grounds, Su Yin immediately rushed towards Uchiime. Pushing open the door, Uchiime was sitting by the bed and talking to the Realm Master. Today, the Realm Master's complexion was not bad. She had lost her usual pale face. Her face was a little flushed. Her eyes were also shining. It was obvious that she was in good spirits. Seeing Su Yin walk in, the two ladies smiled. "I was just talking about you. I didn't expect you to come," Uchiime said while grinning. Seeing that Su Yin was safe and sound, her heart that had been hanging in the air also relaxed. "May Air, it's been hard on you." Su Yin patted her head and laughed. "It's not hard at all. Compared to Big Brother, what can I do?" Uchiime laughed. Su Yin nodded. He was still at ease. Uchiime seemed to have sensed that Su Yin had something to say to the Realm Master. He rolled his eyes, laughed, and ran out. "I'll go see if the medicine in the pill furnace is ready." By the time he finished speaking, he had already disappeared. Only Su Yin and Realm Master were left in the room. "Are you feeling better?" Su Yin walked over and smiled. Realm Master nodded her head. "After these few days of recuperation, I'm much better now." "Thank you, Su Yin. I should be the one saying that. If you hadn't found out the weakness of the great immortal judge, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to defeat him. The final result might have been even worse." Su Yin laughed bitterly. "Don't use your fortune-telling technique anymore in the future." "What? Don't you want me to use the divination technique to help you?" The Realm Lord blinked her eyes and asked. "Although the divination technique is good, the side effects are too great. It's best if you don't use it. As for the other problems, I will solve them." Su Yin said, "If you don't know about some things in advance, it will be impossible to guard against them. Unfortunately, I was born with the divination art, and I don't know how to pass it down. Otherwise, I could pass it down to you. Peeking at fate is not a good thing. Is that so? However, now that the immortal cord is dead, the burden in my heart has been lifted. I plan to return to the Wanhua realm after a while." "Go back? Since you've decided, I'll arrange it. You should rest well." "Yes." The Realm Lord nodded. Su Yin did not say anything more. He turned and left, only to see the Realm Lord's eyes flickering, a look of disappointment flashing past her eyes. If Su Yin had asked her to stay, she would have definitely agreed, but Su Yin did not say anything. In truth, how could the Realm Lord not know that Su Yin hoped that she could leave? After all, this place was too dangerous, and furthermore, Su Yin did not wish for the Realm Lord to use the divination technique again. The Realm Lord sighed and slowly closed her eyes. After leaving the cultivation grounds of the Realm Lord, Su Yin walked towards the meeting hall. The Sect Master and Octagon Aniseed were talking about something in the meeting hall. When Su Yin stepped in, the two of them turned to look at him. "Lord Demon Lord, you came at the right time. The Sect Master was just about to ask me to look for you," Octagon Aniseed said with a smile. "Looking for me?" Su Yin was suspicious. "What's the matter?" "It's about the Demon Saint," the Sect Master said indifferently. "Demon Saint?" Su Yun's pupils slightly widened. Back then, when he obtained the demon saint's inheritance from the ancient tomb of the true devil sect, it was enough for him to sweep through more than half of the immortal world. The great demons of my true devil realm have already found the location of the demon saint, but to revive him, it is not easy. This time, these great demons have come here, firstly to heal their injuries, and secondly, to seek your help. Help? What do you want me to do? Su Yun asked. All the great demons hope to borrow the power of your evil sword to awaken the slumbering soul of the demon saint, perfectly possess his body, and complete the resurrection. The sect master said. Hearing that, a flash of light flashed past Su Yun's eyes, and he immediately shook his head. No, the power of the evil sword is extremely difficult to control. If I am not careful, there will be unexpected consequences. I don't agree. Furthermore, the demon saint is so powerful. Once the evil sword gets close, it will be devoured. I don't agree to do that. Other than that, there's no other way. The sect master turned and stared at Su Yun. Behind the hazy mist, the pair of dignified demon eyes stared straight at him. But Su Yun looked at the sect master without any fear. Back then, the immortal court also tried to seize the evil sword, but the moment he got close, he activated the evil sword's vicious nature, and even the seal in the sword sheath was unable to suppress it. If not for the sword spirit still being awake, the evil sword would definitely reappear in the world. And at that time, the myriad realms would be destroyed, so I do not wish for anyone to get close to the evil sword, and even I do not plan to use the evil sword again. Su Yun said solemnly. He had personally felt the terror of the evil sword. He was clearer than anyone else about the power of the evil sword. Is there really no room for discussion? The sect master's voice became unprecedentedly serious. But Su Yun was still determined. Sect master, if we use the power of the evil sword to stimulate Senior Devil Saint's soul, then I can tell you all seriously that it is not reviving Lord Devil Saint, but rather, it is sending all of us to our deaths. He was not afraid at all. Even though the person standing in front of him was the true Devil Sect master, he still said the same thing. The two of them looked at each other. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little tense, Octagon Aniseed immediately laughed and said, all right, Lord Sect Master, Lord Demon Lord, let's put this topic aside for now. The matter of Lord Devil Saint is not that urgent. We have plenty of time to find a way to satisfy both sides. Isn't that better? Lord Sovereign, the reason you asked Lord Demon Lord to come here today was not just to revive Lord Devil Saint, right? There must be something else. Octagon Aniseed said with a smile, as if he was reminding the sect master. The sect master took a light breath and nodded. That's right. The reason why I invited the Demon Lord over today is indeed because I have something to tell you. What is it? Su Yun asked. It's about the blood in your body. The blood of my body? Su Yun frowned. Lord Demon Lord, I once asked you where the blood in your body came from. You said that you obtained it from a nameless corpse, right? The sect master said. Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Actually, this sentence was not completely correct, because when he obtained the blood of the nameless corpse, it was before he transmigrated. He did not know if the blood would be transmitted along with him when he transmigrated, but when he went to look for the nameless corpse in this life, he did not discover it. According to the time, the nameless corpse would definitely be inside the wall that he had found before. Moreover, there were no traces of anyone else entering that wall. Do you know who that nameless corpse is? The sect master asked again. I don't know. Su Yun shook his head again. Let me tell you. The sect master turned around, his back facing Su Yun, and said indifferently, if my guess is correct, that nameless corpse should be the true Devil Realm's ancestor, the corpse of the demon ancestor. True Devil Realm's ancestor? Su Yun's eyes trembled, his heart jumped. Are you sure? Your blood is not pure devil blood, but it is filled with devil nature, and the devil intent is unbelievably strong. What is even more amazing is that it has always been hiding in your body, and I have some understanding of the demon ancestor, so I can be sure. True Devil Realm's ancestor? Su Yun suddenly thought back to the scene when the blood in his body was boiling after he absorbed the divine dragon race's flesh. That huge figure intended to resist the unyielding spirit of the evil sword. Su Yun was extremely shocked and only regained his senses after a long while. He looked at the sect master and asked softly, since sect master has an understanding of the demon ancestor, then sect master, what is your identity? How far away was the demon ancestor? There were not many rumors about him, and for the sect master to be able to recognize the blood in Su Yun's body, he was probably not an ordinary person. The true devil sect master was silent for a long time before he turned around. The mist around him gradually dimmed and gradually revealed his original appearance. It was a middle-aged man with no hair, no eyebrows, and bright eyes. However, there was a blood-red scar between his eyebrows. His temperament was ice-cold, and he gave off a dignified feeling. The demon saint and I are actually disciples of the demon ancestor. The true devil sect master opened his mouth, staring at Su Yun, and said slowly. Su Yun looked at the true devil sect master's appearance, and waves of ripples rose in his heart. His appearance was somewhat similar to the demon ancestor shadow he had seen before, probably because he cultivated the same devil art. However, he never thought that even Lord Demon Saint would be a disciple of the demon ancestor. The gradual decline of the true devil realm is not what I wish for, but the enemy of the demon ancestor is too strong. I do not dare to reveal my identity, so I use the mist to cover my face, to avoid people's eyes and ears. If the demon ancestor is strong, the true devil realm, and even the devil cultivator will no longer exist. The true devil sect master said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. So that's how it is. Thinking about it, a lot of things must have happened back then. Otherwise, the true devil sect master would not have looked like this. Su Yun, since you have obtained the power of the divine dragon lord's fleshly body, this power will definitely be able to activate the blood of the demon ancestor in your body. The blood of the demon ancestor can give you a strong power, but after it is activated, it can no longer be concealed. I am worried that the great enemy of the demon ancestor will sense your existence and harm you, so you need to be prepared early. During this period of time, follow me to cultivate. I will teach you how to use the power of the demon ancestor's blood. The true devil sect master said softly. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. Yes, sect leader. Chapter 1427. The blood of the devil ancestor contains the true essence of the devil. We, the devil cultivator S, were all born from his blood and have also inherited the demonic nature, but the true demonic nature is not the cruel and heartless, vicious people say. The true demonic nature is to have that obsession, and this obsession is not something that ordinary people can understand. You obtain this blood by chance, and instead of saying that it was luck, it was better to say that the devil ancestor chose you, and you accepted the devil ancestor. This is not only good fortune, but also your own responsibility. The blood of the demon ancestor is like a vast ocean. It is boundless, yet all-encompassing. Demon monarch, I will draw out this demonic nature for you. You need to comprehend it well. Don't waste this opportunity of yours. Inside the training grounds, the sect master stood behind Su Yun with a solemn face, one hand on his back. A large amount of devil intent flowed from his arm to Su Yun's back, causing the blood in his body to heat up. Su Yun closed his eyes tightly, feeling the changes in his body. There seemed to be a strange power churning in his mind. It was like a memory, but it was hard to see clearly. The devil ancestor's blood contained an ancient power. How powerful was it? To completely unleash it, even the current Su Yun and the true devil sect lord would not be able to do it, but to pull it out and let Su Yun slowly absorb it was not difficult. The foolish old man moved the mountain, and the dripping water pierced through the stone. As long as he continued to work hard, he would definitely be able to accomplish it. The power of the devil ancestor's devil blood contains the power of heaven and earth, the power of heaven and earth, and even the will of heaven and earth. Every drop of its blood can encompass the entire universe and cover the stars. Only by diligently sensing and comprehending it can one grasp the true meaning behind it. Remember, do not be too hasty. The true devil sect master, said slowly. This kind of bloodline was something that no treasure could compare to. If he could not perfectly absorb it, not only would Su Yun be in danger, he would also waste these treasures. Huff! A series of exhaling sounds came out. Su Yun seemed to have comprehended something. His chest continued to rise and fall. The melodious breathing sounded like an ancient song. The true Devil Sect master was startled. His heart was secretly shocked. Su Yun seemed to have already seen through the door. What a strong talent! He stopped the devil intent in his hands and stood behind Su Yun, watching quietly. The comprehension of this kind of devil blood could not tolerate any mistakes, otherwise the consequences would be extremely severe. He needed to protect Su Yun. Su Yun's entire body once again released a blood-red halo of light, flickering like a red star, and within the blood-red skin, a pitch-black chi gradually leaked out. This was not the devil chi, but the mystical magic power that came from his bloodline. They were like a dragon snake, gradually spreading along Su Yun's skin, as though they were drawing some sort of pattern. Demonic language magic, 10,000 techniques, are interlinked. When a true power reaches a certain limit, it will be promoted to a higher level of power. For example, the limit of profound spirit chi, the limit of immortal chi, the limit of immortal chi, the God power. But the God power is definitely not the end. It definitely has its limits. And until now, there are very few rumors of powers that are higher than the God power in the immortal world. So who should explore this unknown domain? Suddenly, Su Yun opened his eyes, and a ray of blood light shot out from his eyes, directly piercing through the barrier of the cultivation ground and into the distance. After an unknown period of time, the blood light gradually weakened, and Su Yun's red skin also slowly returned to normal. The devil intent around his body gradually weakened, and everything seemed to have returned to the beginning. Su Yun, are you feeling better? The true devil sect leader asked. Much better. Su Yun exhaled and laughed. It's just that this blood of the devil ancestor is too profound. In such a short period of time, I am unable to decipher it in depth. I can only grasp some superficial knowledge and obtain the initial stage of the power of the bloodline. Your perception is so strong, but you can only understand the surface. From this, it can be seen that the blood of the devil ancestor is not something that we can easily grasp. But we don't have to be anxious. Let's take our time. The true devil sect leader said. Su Yun nodded. He stood up and planned to stretch his muscles and bones. But just at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. It was Su Luluo. Luluo, this girl should know that you are in closed-door cultivation, but for her to come so anxiously, I'm afraid something has happened. The sect master said indifferently. Su Yun frowned and quickly walked out. Big brother. Luluo, what's wrong? Seeing Su Luluo's pale face, Su Yun asked anxiously. Big brother, you come quickly. Su Luluo did not explain. He pulled Su Yun and ran towards the hall. The true devil sect leader quietly watched Su Yun leave and sighed. At this moment, the meeting hall was filled with people. However, these people were not from the encampment, but from the divine eagle race. Su Yun stepped in, and all the people from the divine eagle race looked at him. Su Yun looked around and realized that most of the people from the divine eagle race were injured. Many of them even had their wings cut off. Blood flowed all over the ground. They were already on the verge of death. Their eyes were filled with fear, as though they were still immersed in some kind of unbearable torture and pain. Su Yun. Just then, a familiar voice came out. Su Yun looked towards the voice, only to see Yang Zi walking out from the crowd. At this moment, her face was extremely pale, her eyes were lifeless, and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. The large wings on her back had lost a lot of feathers, and she looked extremely miserable. Not far behind her, Shui was squatting on the ground, hugging his knees as he trembled, looking extremely pitiful. What happened? Su Yun frowned and asked. Divine Eagle race is finished. Eagle Mountain has been completely destroyed. My father, the corners of Yang Zi's eyes were filled with tears. His voice was choked with sobs, but he could no longer speak. Su Yun's face darkened and asked softly, Who did it? The other party is very mysterious. They suddenly launched an attack on us. They have a lot of people, and they're very strong. The divine eagle race was immediately defeated. Father became the target of their attacks, and it was difficult for him to escape. In order to cover our retreat, Shueyu's parents personally faced a few Origin Realm experts, and have already. Su Yun exhaled. He looked at the divine eagle race people, but did not say anything, as though he was thinking about something. Su Yun, after the incident, my father told us to find you, and said that you can protect us, but he said that when we were fighting with the divine dragon race, our divine eagle race did not make a move. So you might not take us in, but there is something that will allow you to temporarily provide us with protection. With that said, Yang Zi took out a sparkling ball from the space bag at his waist. 9 divine wind heavenly beads. Su Yun stared at the pearl, his eyes extremely calm. Without much fluctuation, after a long while he slowly spoke. Yang Zi, your father does not understand me. Perhaps even you do not understand me very well. The divine eagle race is in trouble. I am very sorry about that. But my place is not a sanctuary. I can take you in, take Shueyu in, because in times of danger you once stood up and helped me. I, Su Yun, am a person who remembers favors, but this is not a breakthrough for you to ask for my help. If I take you in, then the people who destroyed you might also make a move on me. My place will once again become a battlefield, and more people will be sacrificed. This is not something I want to see. I want to be responsible for the people in my encampment. Su Yun said indifferently, his voice cold and emotionless. Hearing that, Yang Zi's delicate body trembled a few times and looked at Su Yun in disbelief. The current Su Yun was not suitable to fight anymore. After fighting with the divine dragon race and the immortals, he was already exhausted. He needed a rest. Everyone needed to rest. In that case, you don't want to take us in? Yang Zi asked with trembling lips. Yes, sir, Su Yun said coldly. Could it be that even the 9 divine wind heavenly beads can't be exchanged for our lives? Yang Zi suddenly stepped forward and shouted at Su Yun with tears in her eyes. The surrounding divine eagle race people all looked at him. Su Luluo and the rest who followed him also looked over. Yang Zi, no need to beg him. Our divine eagle race has not fallen to such an extent. That's right. Since he isn't willing to take us in, let's go. Let's go. Why should we beg such a person? When the people of divine eagle race heard the conversation between Yang Zi and Su Yun, they all stood up angrily and shouted angrily, wanting to leave. Enough. Just then, Su Yun suddenly shouted. His voice was like thunder, shocking everyone. He stared coldly at Yang Zi, his deep eyes looking extremely terrifying. Yang Zi's face became even paler, and he could not help but take 2 steps back. Back then, when the divine dragon race attacked us, where were your people? When we faced the full power of the divine dragon race, where were you? When we faced the allied forces of more than 20 immortal sects, where was your divine eagle race? Your patriarch knew that I was facing a great enemy, but he did not extend a helping hand to me. I don't blame him, because from his point of view, his way of doing things is reasonable. But now, what right do you have to come here and ask me for help? What right do you have to come here and criticize me? Shouldn't you think from my point of view? My people have fought continuously, suffered heavy losses, and are exhausted. Why should I help you? Why? Could it be that your divine eagle race is such a shameless person? Su Yun shouted coldly. Every single word he said caused the divine eagle race people to be ashamed. They looked at Su Yun in a daze, their faces filled with shame. Su Yun was not wrong. When Su Yun faced a strong enemy, their divine eagle race only watched silently from the side, and the divine eagle race did not say a word. Su Yun did not blame the divine eagle race, because he knew that the divine eagle race could not protect themselves, but this was not a reason for the divine eagle race to stand by the side and watch. If the divine eagle race truly treated him as an ally, no matter how difficult the situation was, they would lend a helping hand, but the divine eagle race did not. You want to find protection? On what basis? With this 9 divine wind heavenly pearl? It might be a treasure in your divine eagle race, a treasure in the entire immortal world, but in my eyes, it's just a ball that can shine. I don't care about this treasure. I only care about the lives of my people. Su Yun roared. Hearing that, Yang Zi's eyes lost focus. He sat paralyzed on the ground, his lips trembling, but he did not know what to say. Could it be that the heavens want to kill the divine eagle race? Muttering sounds came out. Su Yun took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Although I am not willing to keep you guys here, I, Su Yun, am not a person who repays kindness with enmity. If you guys really want to stay, continuing the bloodline of your divine eagle race is also possible. However, you guys must agree to one condition of mine. Su Yun said. Conditions? What conditions? Su Yun speak. Yang Zi wiped the tears off his face and said, You must stay in the encampment. No one is allowed to go out. And even more so, you are not allowed to leave the place I have arranged for you. You cannot let anyone know that you are here. Furthermore, all of you must listen to me completely and treat me as your leader. Are you going to put us under house arrest? Someone asked. If you don't want to stay, then scram. Su Yun bellowed. The man opened his mouth, his face changed slightly, and he did not say anything else. I will arrange for people to treat your injuries and allow you to recover. All you have to do is wait for my investigation. Investigation? Investigate what? A divine eagle race man asked again. The whole story of the attack on the Eagle Mountain, and also who is the mastermind, Su Yun said, then immediately turned and left. Chapter 1428. The attack on the Eagle Mountain was out of Su Yun's expectations. Even a lord of the divine eagle race was not able to escape. It could be seen that the other party had more than one origin realm expert, or perhaps even stronger existences. Su Yun did not know what was going on, and if it would implicate him, so he decided to leave the divine eagle race behind. If the other party were to focus on him after dealing with the divine eagle race, then he could join hands with the divine eagle race. If the other party was only looking for the divine eagle race to take revenge, Su Yun would send the divine eagle race people away when his injuries were healed. Although the divine eagle race had adopted a wait-and-see attitude when Su Yun was facing a great enemy, the lord of the divine eagle race had saved the realm master and warned Su Yun. Looking at these feelings, Su Yun would not really ignore them. And the reason why he said those words was to let the divine eagle race understand their current situation and let them be prepared as soon as possible. Just then, 2 footsteps came from outside, neither fast nor slow. Hearing that, Su Yun knew who it was. Big brother, I have already sent people to the Eagle Mountain to investigate. I believe that in less than 5 days, there will be news back. Su Yuluo's face was a little tired as he slowly said, Luluo, it's been hard on you. Ever since Xiang Yang died, all of his missions have been piled onto you. You must be exhausted during this period of time. Su Yun turned and said gently to Su Luluo, Big brother, it's not hard at all. Compared to you, this little bit of mine is nothing. Su Luluo smiled and shook her head. She rarely smiled, but when facing Su Yun, she would often smile brilliantly. Perhaps only Su Yun could see this beautiful smile in this world. Su Yun, I'm afraid the matter of the divine Eagle Mountain this time is not as simple as you imagined. You should be on guard as soon as possible. Maybe an even stronger enemy is about to appear. The true Devil sect leader who walked in with Su Luluo said, I've been thinking about who exactly attacked the divine Eagle Mountain and what is their goal. If it was for the 9 divine wind beads, then there was no reason why they couldn't take it away. But Yang Zi brought it to me, so it can be seen that the other party's goal is not the divine eagle race's clan protection treasure, but something else. Su Yun's face was unprecedentedly serious. He scratched his chin and said, I am even suspecting, how did Yang Zi and the rest escape from Eagle Mountain so easily? To be able to kill the divine eagle tribe leader, he should be very strong. Yang Zi and the rest are just a bunch of old and weak soldiers. There is no reason for them to be able to escape here, unless those people intentionally placed them here. So brother found an excuse to put them under house arrest, and, at the same time, sent Faceless to personally watch over them, right? Su Luluo laughed. Yes, but this is only my suspicion. Before the results of the investigation are out, don't act rashly for the time being. Su Yun said, Act rashly? I feel that you'd better make preparations as soon as possible. The divine Eagle Mountains matter this time. I faintly feel that it might be in existence above origin deity realm, taking action. At this moment, the sect master suddenly spoke solemnly. Above the origin deity realm? Sect leader, what is the meaning of this? In other words, a great immortal from the immortal realm might have made a move, he said calmly. With that said, Su Yun's heart skipped a beat. Those great immortals that existed in the ancient era? The great immortals of the immortal realm, under our definition, are actually very broad, because the cultivation resources of the immortal realm are far richer than those of us devil cultivator, so it would not be too difficult for them to nurture a strong warrior. The number of immortals in the ancient era was limited, but during this period of time, there were also many talented and even monstrous geniuses that grew to the strength of a great immortal. The unwritten rule between the great devil and the great immortal is actually just a check and balance between each other's strength. However, when one side is stronger than the other, this rule no longer exists. The sect master said in a deep voice. Hearing that, Su Yun became silent, but he felt that the sect master had not finished speaking. Su Yun, we must think of a way to obtain the support of more people and obtain the protection of stronger experts. Now, if we go and revive the demon saint, all of this can definitely be redeemed, and the great immortals of the immortal world do not need to be afraid. The sect master stared at Su Yun and said. Su Yun did not make a sound for a long time, as if he had expected the sect master to say such a thing. Must we rely on the evil sword? After an unknown period of time, Su Yun opened his mouth, but his voice was extremely hoarse. I'm afraid it has to be the evil sword, the sect master said. Hearing that, a look of worry flashed across Su Yun's face. He did not say anything else, and directly walked out of the training grounds. He would definitely not touch the evil sword. The sect master did not know about the matter of the evil sword and Ling Qingyu in the Sky Martial Continent. So Su Yun had already started to consider letting Long Xianli take the evil sword and temporarily hide. But just as Su Yun was frowning, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Yun. Master Ancestor? Seeing that, Su Yun was overjoyed. Su Yun, you don't have to be so worried. It's not like there's no way. It just depends on whether or not you guys are willing to do it. The Sword Ancestor laughed. Obviously, when he walked in, he heard everyone's conversation. So it's Lord Sword Ancestor. The sect master stared at Sword Ancestor. A trace of vigilance flashed past his eyes, but he quickly hid it and said, What method does Lord Sword Ancestor have? There's no harm in saying it. If you want to save the demon saint, you need to use the power of the evil sword to activate his soul, right? Although I have never met the demon saint, I have heard a lot of rumors about him, and I have also heard a little about what happened to the demon saint. However, if you want to rely on the evil sword, I'm afraid it's not just to use the power of the evil sword to activate the demon saint's soul. I'm afraid there are other uses for it, right? The Sword Ancestor suddenly squinted his eyes and laughed. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and turned to look at the sect master. The sect master looked at Sword Ancestor's smiling face, then looked at Su Yun and finally sighed and said helplessly, Su Yun, I did not mean to lie to you. It's just that if I told you the truth, you would definitely not choose to use the evil sword. What exactly is going on, sect master? Su Yun asked in a low voice. This matter has to start with the matter of the demon saint. The sect master shook his head helplessly. After the demon ancestor died, the true devil realm was led by my senior brother, the demon saint. Senior brother completely inherited my master's mantle. The devil power in his body was extremely powerful. He even gave people the feeling that he had surpassed his master. His strength, leadership, wisdom, and vision were all incomparable. At that time, the true devil realm had just started. The devil cultivator had not been born for long. They were still in a confused period, and their civilization had not even formed. So how could they contend against the immortal world that had already formed a system? However, senior brother had a unique vision and vast knowledge. In the 3rd year after his master died, he took over the true devil realm and left the true devil realm to travel the 10,000 realms and even the immortal world. After 1,000 years, he finally returned to the true devil realm. But the moment he returned to the true devil realm, the entire lifeless and gloomy demon realm immediately became brand new, and the devil cultivator began to have their own system, and their own civilization. They began to have their own beliefs and pursuits, and all of this was given to them by their senior brother. He later recruited a group of immortals who were dissatisfied with the current situation of the immortal world to join the demon realm, allowing the demon realm to develop even faster and become even stronger. As time passed, history evolved, and the true devil realm continued to develop. Powerful, great demons emerged one after another, and the true devil realm at that time was an existence that could completely contend against the immortal world. Amongst the myriad realms, the immortal world finally had a formidable enemy, and that was the true devil realm. Thus, the immortals started to feel fear, they were panicking and uneasy, and started a war against the true devil realm, intending to destroy the true devil realm to eliminate this potential threat. The true devil realm naturally rose up to resist and established the demon city as the command center of the true devil realm. And this demon city became the true devil sect later on. Even if the immortal world sent an army of elites from various sects, they would not be able to suppress the true devil realm. Instead, the angry devil cultivator attacked the immortal world, and the devil cultivator was like a tide, blotting out the sky and devouring the immortal world. At that time, the true devil realm was all-encompassing. The power of the devil cultivator was not only limited to demons, but also experts from various realms who were not satisfied with the immortal world. There were even a large number of immortals, and what they chased after was definitely not the immortal world's ability to cover the sky with one hand, but the beliefs in their hearts. Finally, the people of the immortal world were afraid. They began to compromise, to fear, to miss peace, to regret their actions, and at that time, the immortal world proposed a reconciliation. They hoped that the people of the true devil realm would withdraw from the immortal world and sign a truce agreement with them, a peace agreement. Immortals and demons would never turn against each other. No matter who it was, they were not willing to face that terrifying war again, and as the leader of the devil cultivator, his senior brother went to the immortal world to sign an agreement with him. However, he did not expect that among the immortals, a peerless expert would secretly ambush his senior brother when he was signing the agreement, injuring his soul and capturing him. Senior brother was captured. The devil cultivator did not dare to act rashly and was forced to leave the immortal world. The supreme expert sealed the gate to the immortal world and wanted to kill senior brother, but senior brother relied on the magic treasure left behind by master to let his soul sleep forever in his body, and his body was immortal and indestructible. If he did not kill his soul, he would not die, so senior brother was left in the immortal world forever. That supreme expert was afraid that sooner or later, senior brother would wake up again and lead the devil cultivator to overturn the immortal world, so he stayed by senior brother's corpse, preventing anyone from getting close to him. As the sect leader spoke, no one dared to disturb him. Hearing that, Su Yun was completely enlightened. After senior brother was killed, I took over as the leader of the true devil realm, but in that situation, I had no choice, and my strength was not as good as senior brother's. After senior brother was captured, the true devil realm was in chaos, and it took me 100 years to calm the true devil realm, but at that time, the true devil realm had already been torn apart, and many of senior brother's former enemies had come looking for him. In order to preserve his strength and save senior brother, I took out a group of loyal people from the Devil City and created the True Devil Sect. During that time, I had once led the experts of the True Devil Sect into the immortal world in an attempt to save senior brother, but all of them ended in failure. At that time, the people of the immortal world did not look down on us. They colluded with a group of ambitious devil cultivator and actually started a war again, killing their way into the true devil realm. We had no choice but to fight back, and Changgu and Mo shone brightly at that time. The sect master spoke in detail, and Su Yun had been listening attentively. He looked at Su Yun and sighed. You should know what happened after that. After Changgu and Mo died, The true devil sect started to collapse, and they were the last glory of the true devil realm. Right now, the only way to recover the true devil realm is to save Senior Brother. But the supreme expert who ambushed Senior Brother has been guarding his corpse all this time, so we have no way of doing anything. If we were to fight him head-on, none of us would be a match for him, and the only way right now is to use the evil sword to kill him. Only then will we be able to succeed. Su Yin turned and stared at the true devil sect leader. It was very difficult for him to digest so much information. He could understand the thoughts of the true devil sect leader, but understanding did not mean that he agreed. Sect leader, I want to ask you a question, Su Yin said in a serious tone. Ask away. Do you know how the devil ancestor died? He asked in a deep voice. Chapter 14:29. As these words fell, the true devil sect master was obviously stunned. Grandmaster, I don't know. The true devil sect leader shook his head. Actually, after we took human form, we did not come into contact with a master ancestor. We are just a strand of devil chi that leaked out from the master ancestor's body. Devil chi that has its own consciousness. We only remember that the master ancestor's body suddenly collapsed and transformed into the true devil realm. That's all. But from the memories contained in my blood, I saw that the demon ancestor was killed by a sword. Su Yin was unprecedentedly serious. Killed by a sword? You mean, that's right. This is the ominous sword. Su Yin closed his eyes and thought back to the scene he saw when he absorbed the divine dragon lord's body, and said coldly, the demon ancestor is truly worthy of being the demon ancestor. The evil sword has already destroyed everything, but he is not afraid in the slightest, and is willing to use his body as a shield to resist the evil sword, to prevent it from continuing to destroy the world. Even though the evil sword is much stronger than him, he does not have the slightest intention of yielding and would rather break than bend, and finally his body collapsed and died. Sect Master, even the demonic ancestor, is unable to resist the power of the ominous sword. Could it be that you can subdue it? Do you wish for the myriad worlds to repeat the same mistake? You don't understand the ominous sword at all. Su Yun's words were not polite at all. He had to dispel the sect leader's thoughts. The ominous sword would definitely not solve the problem. On the contrary, it itself was a huge problem. If he were to use the ominous sword, it would not bring him hope, but instead, it would bring him destruction. He believed that Ling Qing would not agree to it. When the Grandmaster heard this, he closed his eyes, as though he was thinking about something. All these years, the true devil sect leader had walked the path of suffering and exhaustion. Perhaps his ability was not as strong as the demon saints, but he was definitely not much weaker either. Under that kind of internal and external troubles, facing the suppression of a strong enemy, he was still able to preserve the true devil realm, which was enough to show that his methods were extraordinary. Even so, Su Yun could not use the ominous sword, not only for everyone, but also for Ling Qingyu. I say, why bother with the ominous sword? In this world, the ominous sword isn't the only powerful sword. If you really want to save the devil saint, there are other ways. At this moment, the sword ancestor spoke again, breaking the deadlock. The sovereign raised his head and looked at sword ancestor. Sword ancestor, what do you mean? Could it be that there is a divine weapon that can contend against the ominous sword? Oh, that's not what I meant. There shouldn't be any divine weapons that can contend against the ominous sword. However, there are many divine weapons that can save the demon saint. At least, that's what I think. The sword master said with a faint smile. What good plan does the sword ancestor have? The sect master asked. This is a good plan. It's not really a good plan. It's just a helpless move, but it's worth a try. Sword ancestor, please enlighten me. The sect master said solemnly. In fact, how could he not know the danger of the ominous sword? Forced to do so, he was not willing to make such a request to Su Yun, but since sword ancestor had other methods. I heard that in the ancient times, there was a person in the immortal world who was famous for his sword. He was invincible, and his attainments in the way of the sword surpassed the past and the present, reaching an unprecedented peak. It is said that the sword in his hand was made from a piece of divine iron that fell from the giant axe used by the Creator when the world was created, and it possessed the power of the ancestor. That person has already fallen. If we can find the sword that this person used, it will definitely be powerful enough to replace the ominous sword and save the demon saint. The sword ancestor said, "Is Lord Sword Ancestor talking about the legendary Heaven Exterminating Sword?" The sovereign said, "That's right. It's the Heaven Exterminating Sword used by the Heaven Exterminating Sword God." The sword ancestor laughed. "Another sword god?" Su Yun frowned. He had seen many sword gods in the immortal world. Although they were very strong, they were not to the extent of defying the heavens. The sword ancestor seemed to have sensed Su Yun's thoughts and laughed. "Su Yun, don't underestimate the Heaven Exterminating Sword God. This sword god is an existence that can truly be called a sword god, and his name as a sword god is not a collective name, but because he has truly reached the realm of the gods." The realm of the gods? Su Yun took a light breath, his heart skipping a beat. Yes, after returning to the void, everything will be transformed, and one will be reborn. From the beginning to the god transformation, one will step onto the god domain and become a true god realm, which is also the legendary God-sealed realm. The sword ancestor said in a low voice. God-sealed realm. Su Yun repeated, his heart filled with shock. Regardless of whether it's the sword god's smile or the sword god's white clothes, they are just titles given by others. They can't be considered real sword gods, and to be honest, my title of sword ancestor is just an undeserved reputation, but the title is just a code name. It doesn't matter what it is called. The sword ancestor laughed. Then, Master Ancestor, where is the Heaven Exterminating Sword now? Su Yun thought for a moment, then raised his head and asked, "I'm not too sure about that either." The sword ancestor shook his head and said, "In my life, not only am I infatuated with the way of the sword, I am even more infatuated with the way of the sword. I have traveled through the myriad realms and seen many swords, and I am also very interested in the rumored true sword god Annihilation. I have only heard that the sword god Annihilation fell somewhere in the immortal world, and at that time, all the swords with intelligence in the entire immortal world split open, causing a strange phenomenon in the sky, as if they were following the Heaven Exterminating Sword. And that Heaven Exterminating Sword should also be by his side, but I am not sure. If the Heaven Exterminating Sword is still complete, after all, at that stage, all the swords are intelligent, and if the Heaven Exterminating Sword dies, I am afraid that the sword will not exist alone. Then why are we placing our hopes on the Heaven Exterminating Sword? Is there any point? Of course. It is true that people will die and the sword will be destroyed, but there is another possibility. The sword ancestor laughed. The sword god is powerful and has a high realm. If he dies, as long as no one deliberately destroys it, his body will not melt. If this spirit sword wants to protect his body from being harmed by others, then it will self-destruct. Perhaps it is still guarding the corpse of the Heaven Exterminating Sword. So, we are going to try our luck. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head. This possibility did exist. But no one knows where the Heaven Exterminating Sword God died. Where should we start looking? Su Yun asked. The Heaven Exterminating Sword God was just a legend. It was illusory and hard to find. The immortal world is so big, and the area that the immortals have explored is too small. The southernmost immortal sea and the westernmost dead immortal domain have not been touched by the immortals. According to the news I received, the last time the Heaven Exterminating Sword God appeared was in the dead immortal domain. Su Yun, maybe you can send someone to the dead immortal domain to see if there are any clues. The sword ancestor said, Dead immortal domain? Su Yun frowned. That place was extremely far away from the encampment, and from the encampment, according to the footsteps of Spirit God, it would take at least 3 months to travel back and forth. Adding on the investigation, it would probably take at least a year. However, there was nothing he could do at the moment. Su Yun nodded and said, Then I will let Faceless make the arrangements, and let him lead a team to investigate. Yes. The sword ancestor nodded his head. Then during this period of time, I will wait here for news. Speaking of which, I'm also very interested in the Heaven Exterminating Sword God. If I can personally see him, Even if it is just a corpse, I will have no regrets in this life. Master Ancestor can stay here for as long as you want. I will arrange a place for you to cultivate. All right. After deciding to search for the exterminating heaven sword, the sect master no longer requested Su Yun to use the ominous sword to save the demon saint. But looking at his anxious expression, it was obvious that he was not optimistic about the world exterminating sword. Maybe he thought that it would be extremely difficult for Su Yun and the sword ancestor to obtain the world exterminating sword. No matter what, he still had to give it a try. After Su Yun left the training grounds, he inspected the encampment, and after a round, he returned to the training grounds to continue cultivating. Not long after, the investigators of the Eagle Mountain returned with news regarding the Eagle Mountain. The Eagle Mountain was completely destroyed, and the corpses of the divine eagle race were everywhere. But what surprised Su Yun was that the magic treasure inside the divine eagle race was not taken away, and even the materials and pills were not missing. And amongst the dead, almost all of them were from the divine eagle race. And the other party seemed to have moved the corpses, causing the people who were investigating to not be able to find any clues about the other party. But one thing was certain: the person who destroyed the Eagle Mountain was very powerful, unimaginably powerful. At least from the traces at the scene, the divine eagle race did not have any room to resist, and the enchantment around the Eagle Mountain was shattered in one strike. A powerful enemy, simply killing the people of the divine eagle race without any other reason, was simply illogical unless they were enemies of the divine eagle race. For this, Su Yun once again came to the place that Su Luo had arranged for Yang Zi and the rest of the divine eagle race. No, this is the first time I have seen those people, and I have never heard of our divine eagle race provoking such a powerful enemy. Facing Su Yun's question, Yang Zi shook her head, thinking back to the scene at that time. Her face was still extremely pale. If they were not enemies, then why would they be so ruthless towards the divine eagle race? Su Yun was once again confused. Just as he was frowning, a group of people slowly arrived at the outskirts of the encampment. "Where is Lord Su Yun?" An extremely powerful voice came from outside the encampment. The voice was extremely loud and actually contained divine power, spreading throughout the entire encampment, causing people's souls to tremble, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Everyone in the encampment raised their heads and looked towards the source of the voice. Su Yun and Su Luluo looked at each other, then immediately ran towards the entrance of the encampment. "Who?" Su Yun landed in front of the door and looked outside. Looking outside, there was a row of immortals. All of them were dressed in golden robes with black patterns on them, making them look extremely noble. There were a total of 13 immortals, men, women, old and young. All of them had arrogant expressions and looked down on everyone. The way they looked at the people in the encampment was as if they were looking at ants. Su Yun frowned. He looked around. He only recognized the person standing on the far left. Qian Tian. "Ayaya. Lord Su Yun, you finally came out," Qian Tian said with a smile. "Lord Qian Tian, what business do you have here?" Su Yun's voice was gloomy. His gaze landed on the white-bearded old man beside Qian Tian. The roar just now was from him. Chapter 1430. "Don't tell me Lord Su Yun doesn't know why I'm here." Qian Tian snorted. "The last time I came, I stated my purpose, but Lord Su Yun has yet to give me an answer. You want us to join the Eternal Heaven God's Council?" Su Yun's brows twitched. "That's right. I remember last time you said that you would let me fight with the Divine Dragon race. If I win, you will not disturb me, and I have already defeated the Divine Dragon race. You should abide by the agreement," Su Yun said in a deep voice. "But in reality, we do not intend to abide by it." Qian Tian laughed. "We broke the agreement. So dishonest. Do you think I will join you?" Su Yun said calmly. He knew that Qian Tian would break his promise, but he didn't expect Qian Tian to be so straightforward. In fact, it was true if he thought about it carefully. In this world, whoever had the bigger fist was right. Whether those so-called promises could be kept or not depended on the mood of the powerhouse. That means Lord Su Yun does not intend to surrender to my Eternal Heaven God's Council. Qian Tian's smile gradually disappeared, a trace of coldness appearing in his eyes. Oomph. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your lives when we fight later. The white-bearded old man's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. His dusky yellow eyes suddenly opened and stared at Su Yun. Killing intent? Su Yun's expression turned cold, his deep eyes sweeping towards the old man. Such a cold gaze. The old man's brows twitched. He could not help but look away, not daring to meet Su Yun's gaze. Su Yun's eyes contained too many emotions: despair, cruelty, viciousness. If he was a true cultivator, he should not have so many negative emotions. Surrender? Since things have come to this, why beat around the bush? Didn't you come here for my ominous sword? Why do you have to speak so pompously? You don't even have the slightest bit of sincerity and still hope that I will surrender to you. Isn't that too laughable? Su Yun said coldly. You are courting death. Do you think you can contend against my eternal heaven god's counsel? The old man took a step forward, his killing intent becoming thicker and thicker. Being able to resist and surrendering are two different things. Sir, please do not misunderstand. Have you made your position clear? Qian Tian smiled, as if he understood the meaning behind Su Yun's words. He glanced at him and said, You have to think this through. Any power that refuses to join the eternal heaven god's council will have a miserable ending. End? Su Yun frowned. He stared at Qian Tian and asked, Was the divine eagle race destroyed by you guys? Looks like you've already received the news. Qian Tian smiled and did not deny it. As expected, the people on this side all revealed shocked and angry expressions. The Divine Eagle clan is a great ancient clan. They usually stand aloof from worldly affairs and have never harmed anyone's interests. But now, they have been slaughtered by you. Why did you do this? Why? The reason is very simple. They are rebelling against the eternal heavenly God's counsel. Qian Tian said softly, but his voice was filled with incomparable coldness. Hearing these words, Su Yun's heart jumped a few times. Just because they did not join the eternal heaven God's council, the Divine Eagle clan was destroyed. What kind of existence was the eternal heaven God's council to actually have such ability? It must be known that the immortal court had coveted the Divine Eagle clan's 9 heavenly wind beads, but did not dare to use force. From this, it could be seen that the eternal heaven God's council was an existence that surpassed the immortal court. Lord Su Yun, your understanding of the Divine Eagle clan strength is definitely not any less than ours. You have to think this through clearly. Don't let a moment of impulsiveness ruin your bright future, and let those who follow you die for nothing. It is not worth it. If you agree to join our eternal heaven God's council, we can forget about the past. Not only that, you will definitely be valued by our Lord and Tian. Lord and Tian's strength far surpasses the immortal court. If you follow him, your future will be limitless. What do you think? Qian Tian laughed. It was an extremely confident laugh, as if everything was within his grasp. He believed that the destruction of the Divine Eagle clan would serve as a good warning. So back then, he had personally given the order to destroy the Divine Eagle clan. He wanted to make the entire immortal world understand that they were stronger than the immortal court. But in the next second, a word came out of Su Yun's mouth. Scram! His voice was like thunder, loud and clear. Qian Tian's expression changed greatly. He looked at Su Yun in shock. What? What did you say? He retracted his shocked expression and said coldly, Do you need me to repeat myself? Su Yun bellowed, Scram! All of you scram! There was no room for discussion. Madman, seeking death. The old man beside Qian Tian could no longer endure it. In his eyes, Su Yun was just a junior. How could he be so arrogant? He immediately took action in anger and rushed towards Su Yun. The aura around his body was like a torrential storm, sweeping out like a huge wave towards Su Yun. If an existence of the profound spirit god realm were to touch this power, they would immediately be smashed to pieces. Even if it was an expert of the returning ruins, it would be difficult for them to resist. Come at me. A cold light flashed in Su Yun's eyes. He leaped up, his hand forming a claw, striking towards the wave of chi. His hand turned into a dragon claw. The sword chi wantonly rolled and jumped, touching the chi. It directly tore it apart, then swept up the power of the world like a dragon. It smashed towards the old man. The old man's eyes flashed. He never thought that Su Yun's attack would be so sharp. Ordinary returning ruins existences would not be able to achieve such a terrifying effect. However, with so many eyes looking at him from both sides, how could he retreat? This move, he was going all out. His hands quickly formed a seal, and a circle of golden light bloomed between his hands. Following that, an enormous image of a god descended from the sky, enveloping his body. Demon, god, suppressing palm. Kill. With a wave of his palm, ghosts wailed and gods howled. The group of demons trembled, and the divine power seemed to want to purify the myriad worlds. Break from me. Su Yun's sharp claws were fearless, like a hot knife through butter. He fiercely smashed towards the palm. The dragon scales on his arm flashed. The terrifying power was unleashed along with this attack. Like a surging flood, it instantly tore apart the powerful divine palm. Crack! The old man's arm was directly shattered, and he was sent flying, falling not far from Qiantian. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and a large number of cracks appeared on his skin. His aura was already weak, and he was heavily injured. Cripple. One claw. He had crippled a returning ruins expert. Qiantian's eyes trembled as he looked at Su Yun in shock. The other experts of the Ancient Gods Assembly who came with Qiantian were also slightly surprised. I've underestimated this person. Everyone thought to themselves, that claw, it actually contained the power of a divine dragon? Could it be that Su Yun obtained some benefits from the divine dragon clan? A sharp-eyed person noticed some clues. The expressions of Qiantian and the rest changed. From the looks of it, not only had the divine dragon clan been defeated by Su Yun, they had also been ruthlessly absorbed by Su Yun. Su Yun retracted his palm, stared coldly at Qiantian and the rest, and bellowed. This kind of nobody dares to behave atrociously here. Is there no one else in your Ancient Gods Assembly? Send someone who can fight over. Qiantian's expression was unsightly. Even though he had joined the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council, his strength wasn't high. His superiors had taken a fancy to his intelligence, but they didn't care about his methods. Otherwise, why would he stand behind others? Su Yun, don't be too arrogant. Elder Yang is old, and his physical strength cannot keep up, so he gave you a chance. He just wanted to comfort you and give you some face. Don't go overboard, and don't push your luck. Just then, a man accompanied by a dark green sword walked out and said to Su Yun with a calm gaze, Give? Su Yun sneered. This was probably the most shameless thing he had ever heard. At this cultivation level, what was the difference between old and young? People only looked at cultivation realm and strength. The strength of the physical body also came from one's own strength. I advise you to submit to us as soon as possible. Maybe I can still forgive you. Otherwise, when I make my move later, I'm afraid you won't be able to take it. The man slowly closed his eyes, and a sharp sword intent surged out from his body. Like a vast cloud, it covered Su Yun. He seemed to want to use his sword force to force Su Yun to retreat. The sword intent blew wildly. The sword force pressed down, causing the people behind Su Yun to retreat. They were unable to block the terrifying sword force. But Su Yun himself did not move at all. The man opened his eyes, and his eyebrows twitched. Your sword force, is that all you have? Su Yun said indifferently. Are you looking down on me? The man was infuriated by Su Yun's words. All the sword intent in his body was released without holding back. The terrifying sword force smashed towards Su Yun with a destructive aura. He roared, I want you to understand. What is the true sword force? Press down for me. Whoosh. A gust of wind blew. The thick clouds in the surroundings dispersed. The people in the encampment continued to retreat. Even Qiantian could not resist the sword force, and quickly retreated. Su Luluo was forced to retreat to the center of the encampment. When the immortals fought, the mortals suffered. She was the weakest. It was impossible for her to watch. only Qin Qianlong and the rest were still watching. However, when the terrifying sword force attacked Su Yun like a storm, he did not move at all. Only the robes on his body fluttered in the wind. What is a true sword force? Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, "Let me tell you." With that said, his eyes tensed up as he stared at the man. In that instant, the man's entire body trembled. He felt as if he had been dragged into the sword tomb below the nine hells. His entire body instantly turned cold. A trembling feeling surged in his heart. He was shocked to discover that the confidence in his heart was being exploited by the opponent's sword force, bit by bit, nibbling away. Not good. The man was shocked. If this continued, he would definitely lose in a few breaths of time. His eyes turned cold. He stared at Su Yun, who was standing there. And finally, he was no longer calm. He immediately leaped forward and pulled out the dark green sword from his waist. The sword tip was unsheathed, and a poisonous light flashed. This was impressively a poisonous sword. Chapter 1431. The moment the poisoned sword appeared, the sword light was boundless. The terrifying poison seemed to be able to corrode a person's soul. Despicable. If the sword force can't do anything to my lord, then just use your sword. Is this what you call sword force? Seeing that, Qin Qianlong scolded loudly. Humph! Who said that I can't use my sword? The man's eyes turned cold. He did not have any scruples. He represented the eternal God Council, a power stronger than Su Yun. What was he afraid of? Even if Su Yun was strong, so what? From the fact that he did not kill the old man, it could be seen that Su Yun did not dare to provoke the eternal God Council. So he was unbridled. The body of the poisoned sword flickered. The poison chi exploded along with the sword chi. Like a cloud, it enveloped the surroundings, crazily devouring the surrounding immortal chi. He was very confident in his sword. The power of poison could control everything and destroy everything. No matter how strong the defense was, it could be completely devoured by the poison. He did not believe that under the pressure of his powerful sword force, Su Yun would still be able to receive this move. The terrifying poison aura seemed to want to fill the world. However, the person in the poison chi was still like a statue, not moving at all, until the poison sword approached. Sword? Are you even worthy of using a sword? Just then, Su Yun suddenly opened his eyes, staring at the poisoned sword that was thrusting towards him. His palm moved slightly, and a burst of sword chi formed at his fingertips. Just as the sword chi was formed, the man who was rushing towards Su Yun suddenly fell from the sky, as if he was struck by a gigantic fist. His entire body fell straight down, smashing into the thick clouds below. The clouds collapsed, but he continued to fall. The strange scene was shocking. Sword force? This terrifying power, could it be sword force? The people on Thousand Heaven side were all shocked, all of them looking at Su Yun in shock. Such a terrifying sword force even forced them to retreat. No one dared to approach. What kind of powerful sword force was this? But right at that moment, another ferocious sword force surged out from Su Yun's body. In that moment, all the energy in the world seemed to be pulled by this force, bringing with it an unstoppable might. It rushed towards the falling man. This was a different force. Two completely different forces. And the second force was even more powerful. Its destructive power was even more shocking. Everyone was dumbstruck, their hearts beating rapidly as they stared at Su Yun. Why you can't kill me? Feeling the boundless pressure, the man felt incredibly terrified and shouted with a pale face. Why can't I kill you? Su Yun snorted, his chi increasing. However, with a cautious sound, the body of the descending male suddenly cracked, already unable to endure this imposing aura. The man with the poisoned sword had only used one move, but before he could even touch Su Yun, he was wiped out. Qiantian and the others fell silent. Su Yun's ruthless methods were simply unexpected to them. On the other hand, the old man rejoiced inwardly. No matter what, he was only injured and his physical body was damaged. Although his cultivation had regressed by quite a bit, at least he was able to preserve his life. Unlike the man, not only had his physical body been destroyed, Even his soul had been torn apart by the terrifying sword force. Good. Excellent. Qian Tian regained his senses and looked at Su Yun coldly. Since you've decided to start a war with the eternal heavenly gods' council, then prepare to die. With that, Qian Tian turned to the experts beside him and asked, Sirs, what do you think? What else is there to think? From what I can see, only this guy called Su Yun has some skill. The rest are just trash. In a while, we will restrain Su Yun. The rest will use their abilities and raise this camp to the ground. I want to see what will happen to those who dare to make an enemy of our eternal heavenly gods' council. The handsome man said coldly, That's right. As an ancient great clan, the Eagle God clan has been bragged about so much, but in the end, didn't they not even last half a day? An enchanting woman by the side also spoke up. Although Su Yun had killed 2 people, it was not enough to make them feel fear. They had more than 10 experts. Even if Su Yun could fight against 5 or 6 of them, who could fight against the rest? The divine abilities of the strong, with 1 rage, 10,000 corpses, ordinary immortals could not stop them. Oh, a motley crew? It seems like your eternal heavenly gods' council is also very confident in yourselves. Could it be that this vast, immortal world cannot contain you? Right at this time, a cold snort came from within the camp, following which a sharp sword ray shot out. Sword Ancestor? Seeing who it was, Qian Tian frowned. He is the limitless Sword Ancestor? The handsome man said solemnly. That's right. This Su Yun is his successor. Qian Tian said. Looks like it's only SOSO. The handsome man said disdainfully. Then do you want to try my SOSO sword? The Sword Ancestor stared at the man with a sharp gaze. The man's eyes flashed with a cold glint, but he snorted and did not accept the challenge. Since the eternal heavenly gods' council is so confident, I believe that there is no peace between us. Martial Ancestor, since you are here today, why don't you teach me a few sword techniques? Su Yun said to the Sword Ancestor beside him. Your attainments in the way of the sword are no weaker than mine. I have nothing to teach you, especially the sword force just now. It is enough to see that your sword is about to reach large success. The Sword Ancestor stared at the void returning experts in front of him and said solemnly, These people from the eternal heavenly gods' council are not weak. Su Yun, you can use them as stepping stones to help your sword Dao take a step forward. All right. Su Yun nodded and extended his hand into the space bag. A slender blade was slowly pulled out by him. The cold blade of the Twin Moon Sword seemed to have a sharp aura that could split the heavens and the earth, especially after it was grabbed by Su Yun. The trembling of the sword became even more intense. Su Yun could clearly feel the trembling of the Twin Moon Sword. This was a spirit communication sword, and as its master became stronger, its spirituality would be captured by its master, and it would also transmit more spirituality to its master, and the power unleashed by the sword would also be greater. Hearing the conversation between the Sword Ancestor and Su Yun, the faces of the people from the eternal heavenly gods' council all turned ugly. Bastard, who do you think we are? You want to use us to practice your sword? That depends on whether you have the ability or not. The handsome man was a little angry and immediately activated his immortal chi. Everyone, there's no need to waste words with this person. Just kill him and bring his soul back to report. All right. As the sound of his voice faded, these people were about to rush forward. Wait a minute. At this moment, the Sword Ancestor suddenly shouted. Everyone stopped in their tracks and looked at the Sword Ancestor strangely. But the Sword Ancestor smiled and said, Aren't you guys afraid of rushing forward like this? Afraid? What's there to be afraid of when you're about to die? The handsome man said coldly. Someone who's about to die. Well said. But do you think we're about to die? Or are you going to die? The Sword Ancestor laughed, pointed at Su Yun, and said, Don't forget, he is the one who possesses the evil sword. Can you guys contend against the evil sword? With that said, the faces of the handsome man and the others changed. Qian Tian was also stunned. How could Su Yun not know the purpose of the Sword Ancestor's actions? He was worried that these experts would attack him in groups, making it difficult for Su Yun to resist, so he said those words to intimidate them. making them have some misgivings. The sword ancestor knew that Su Yun could not use the evil sword. These words were enough to make all the experts worry, and not be ruthless. Don't speak nonsense. Su Yun does indeed have an evil sword, but how can he unleash the power of the evil sword? Otherwise, why don't you just kill us? Qin Tian said coldly. He was worried about the hearts of these people. He was afraid that they would not be able to kill Su Yun and would really be his sword practice. Believe it or not, it's up to you if you have the guts, then go. Why are you wasting time? The sword ancestor laughed. The handsome man and the others were still hesitating, but at this time, Su Yun and the sword ancestor had already rushed forward. Since you're already afraid, then stay. Dead people should not be afraid of anything. Su Yun snorted. His sword force unfolded. The dual moon sword slashed towards the handsome man like a torrential storm. Such a terrifying aura caused the handsome man's face to change. Su Yun was using his full strength. It was not that he was worried that he could not defeat these people, but he really wanted to use these people to break through. He was forcing these people, since these people from the Eternal Heaven God's Council were able to destroy the mystical Eagle Mountain. They were definitely not simple, so he wanted them to unleash their full strength, give him pressure, and let him successfully break through. Master, we're here to help you. Seeing that Su Yun and the sword ancestor had made their move, Qin Qianlong immediately brought his men to rush forward, but was stopped by a low shout. Don't go. Qin Qianlong turned around, only to see the true devil sect leader standing not far away, his hands behind his back, watching the battle in front of him. Why? Because your lord wants to practice the sword, the true devil sect leader said indifferently. The boundless sky was filled with sword chi. Tens of thousands of them converged into a wave of swords that surged towards those people. Don't go too far. The handsome man was enraged and shouted, You guys go deal with the sword ancestor. Leave this arrogant disciple to me. With that said, he quickly formed a seal with both of his hands, and a ball of blazing flames shot out from his palm, flying towards Su Yun. The flames turned into a fierce tiger, stepping on the sky. As though it wanted to ignite the heavens, it pounced towards Su Yun. Kill! Su Yun bellowed. The sword chi condensed, moving the void, tearing apart the fierce tiger. Tiger roar! The man bellowed, a circle of sound waves rushing out from his mouth. But the moment the sound waves flew out, they were ignited, turning into a scarlet-red color, crashing towards Su Yun. The temperature in the air increased. Sword screen. Su Yun blocked with his sword, and a sword screen appeared in front of him. Heaven burning lotus. The man shouted again, the flames in his hand condensing into a fist-sized lotus. It was incomparably sacred, and the terrifying temperature could no longer be described with words. Even the air was distorted by the temperature. The man's eyes released a golden light. He stared at Su Yun, his face filled with killing intent. You should be purified. With that said, his arm trembled, and the fire lotus flew out, spiraling continuously, striking towards Su Yun's sword screen. Chapter 1432. Dawn. When the lotus flower struck the sword screen, it immediately exploded into a circle of flames that shot out in all directions. Sword ancestor and the people surrounding him immediately separated, retreating while urging their techniques to resist. When Qin Qianlong, who was in the distant encampment, saw this terrifying scene, he anxiously shouted, Quick! Immediately open the enchantment. Open the enchantment. Bang! The enchantment was open layer by layer. Time was short, and the enchantment in the encampment had not been completely repaired. There were only 10 layers that could be used, but not long after the enchantment was opened, it was melted by the terrifying temperature. When the people in the encampment saw that they had broken through the enchantment and were rushing over, they all frantically retreated. They were completely powerless to resist this terrifying wave of flames. Qin Qianlong's face was extremely ugly, but he did not retreat. Instead, he activated his immortal qi and turned it into a barrier, wanting to resist. However, this wave was too strong. After only holding on for less than 5 breaths of time, he felt that he was about to be overdrawn. His arms were trembling so much that it seemed like they could break at any time. Hiss! Just then, a large amount of devil chi suddenly surged out from behind him. These devil chi were like ice-cold water, pouncing onto the wave of flames. In the blink of an eye, most of the flames were extinguished. Qin Qianlong sat on the ground, gasping for breath. He turned his head to look, only to see the true devil sect leader standing there quietly. Qin Qianlong's eyes flashed with waves of respect. The people in the encampment had never seen the true devil sect leader make a move before. They only thought that he was a devil cultivator and had some relationship with Su Yun. However, the scene today had changed their minds. What kind of powerful devil was this? There seems to be some confusion in your eyes. Just then, the true devil sect leader suddenly opened his mouth, as if he was talking to Qin Qianlong. Qin Qianlong was silent for a moment, then nodded. Yes, I have a few things to ask you. Go ahead. Do you have a lot of powerful devils like you in the true devil realm? Are you worried? A little. Qin Qianlong's meaning was already somewhat obvious. What he sought was freedom, and following Su Yun was for a higher cultivation and a wider world. He did not wish for the immortal world to be occupied by the demons, and a strong power would always cause people to be wary. The true devil sect leader understood Qin Qianlong's words and said indifferently, I'll tell you the truth, there won't be more great immortals in the immortal world. Qin Qianlong didn't say anything else. The true devil sect leader looked at him, then focused his attention on Su Yun, who was fighting intensely. Although the flames were extremely terrifying, to the point that even the barrier around the encampment could not withstand them, Su Yun was different. No matter how strong the flames were, they were still released from the immortal Qi, and facing Su Yun, who could completely control the god power, they were still not enough. The flames gradually dissipated, and the handsome man panted slightly. Looking at the place that was engulfed by the flames, his eyes flashed with a sinister light. No one could resist this attack. Even the experts of the Divine Eagle tribe were turned into ashes after this attack. The man coldly stared at the other side with some anticipation. The flames on the other side gradually dissipated, but there was still a terrifying, destructive power lingering in the air. However, not long after, the man's eyes trembled and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. What? A blurry figure gradually appeared from within the flames. It was Su Yun. When the flames dissipated, the man sized up Su Yun, only to see that he was completely unharmed, without a single wound to be seen, as though his seemingly ferocious attack had been completely ignored by him. Is that all you've got? Su Yun said indifferently. The ridicule in his words was without a doubt. Bastard! The man was enraged. He wanted to rush forward again and attack Su Yun, but Su Yun had already lost his patience. To be exact, Sword Ancestor was being attacked. He needed to go and share the burden as soon as possible. Immediately, he raised the dual moon sword and rushed towards the man. The man's face changed. He felt that something was wrong. When Su Yun rushed over, it was like a sharp sword was stabbing towards him. The sharp light that pierced through the sky and illuminated the night was simply terrifying, as though it had the power to break through everything in the world. His person was like a sword, and his sword was like a person. Was this Su Yun's sword Dao? Just what level had his comprehension of the way of the sword reached? The man did not dare to think about it. Facing the figure that was as fast as a dragon, he shouted loudly, and finally did not dare to hold back. Immortal Qi was released from his body. The magic treasure was activated, and an incomparably large flame shield appeared in front of him. Come, my flame shield can burn anyone who attacks it. I don't believe that you can break through it. The man roared, his face extremely sinister. This shield was mixed with his divine power. Even the Divine Eagle Lord could not break it. He did not believe that Su Yun could ignore it. However, in the next second, a sharp sword suddenly pierced through the flame shield and pierced into his chest. The man's entire body trembled. His immortal Qi and divine power became chaotic. The shield dissipated. He stared at Su Yun, who was standing outside the shield, his heart beating wildly, his face pale white. The difference in strength is not something that can be made up for with just a few roars. Even now, you still can't see your own strength clearly. Death is only a matter of time. Su Yun said indifferently, then moved his finger slightly. The divine power that covered the dual moon sword immediately splashed out in all directions. The man's body immediately shattered. When the others saw this, they were extremely shocked. You guys are next. Su Yun raised his sword and rushed towards the remaining people. Don't be too arrogant. Seal. A middle-aged man bellowed and spat out a pitch-black door from his mouth, striking toward Su Yun. The door was about 100 meters away from Su Yun. When it suddenly stopped, the door opened, and one after another iron chains flew out, coiling around Su Yun's hands and legs. Seal. The middle-aged man shouted again. The iron chains blossomed with light, turning into shackles that wrapped around his shoulders and neck. Vaguely, Su Yun felt as if his soul was being restrained. Sword Ancestor's movement technique is powerful. It is not easy to kill him. Do not bother about him. Get rid of this person first, then we will surround and kill Sword Ancestor together. Faster. The middle-aged man shouted at the people surrounding Sword Ancestor. Yes, kill Su Yun first. Faster. Qian Tian also shouted from afar. Kill me? Is it that easy? Su Yun said indifferently, then released the dual moon sword in his hand, and with a shio sound, the sword flew out, bringing with it the divine power. It pierced towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face was extremely ugly. His eyes swayed. If he did not dodge, he would definitely be pierced by the sword. If he dodged, he would not be able to trap Su Yun. Just as he was in a dilemma, a huge body rushed over from the side. That body was holding onto a 7-colored shield, directly blocking in front of the man. The dual moon sword struck the shield, causing it to tremble uncontrollably. The big-sized man retreated a few steps, almost bumping into the man. When the man saw the big-sized man in such a sorry state, the shock in his eyes could not be concealed. He knew how strong the big-sized man was, but facing Su Yun's attack, he was actually unable to resist. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked. The shock that Su Yun had brought them made them unable to believe that this person's true strength was actually so terrifying. Although Su Yun was being controlled, the dual moon sword seemed to have come to life. After missing its attack, it moved again and fiercely stabbed towards the man. Wang Zhu, protect me, the man shouted. Don't worry, I will protect you. The rest of you, go kill Su Yun. The big-sized man holding onto the shield clenched his teeth and said, then pounced towards the dual moon sword. Protect? How? Su Yun secretly snorted, his eyes suddenly releasing waves of ruthless light. Following that, the ripples around his body started to fluctuate. A large amount of sword intent rose around his body. Sensing this strange change, everyone's mind trembled. The enchanting woman brought 5 or 6 experts and rushed towards Su Yun. Die! The enchanting woman shouted. The sinister, short blade slashed towards Su Yun's head. The blade's edge was emitting flames. It could tear through space and time. It was extremely terrifying when the blade approached Su Yun. The space there actually started to tear and started to distort. But at the same time, a large amount of ripples appeared in the surrounding space around Su Yun. Before those people could even react, they saw countless chi swords shooting out from the ripples, fiercely stabbing towards the enchanting woman. Huh? The woman was shocked and hastily dodged, but it was too late. The chi sword instantly pierced through her body, causing her to fall from the sky, her life force disappearing. Another strike. How terrifying was the power of these chi swords. The enchanting woman was an expert who had just advanced to the void returning realm. Her physical body was definitely not weak, but facing this person's chi sword attack, her body was like paper. You guys are the only ones left, Su Yun said indifferently. The chi swords flew out from the ripples in the air again. Like locusts, they rushed towards those people. It was impossible to calculate how many chi swords there were, like a wave of swords. They instantly drowned those people, and when the wave of swords disappeared, there was no longer a single person left. Only balls of blood mist were left in the air. When the big-sized man who was still fighting with the double moon sword saw this scene, he was incomparably shocked. His mind was distracted, and the double moon sword directly took advantage of him. His arm was cut by the sword, and a large piece of flesh fell off. "You all, what the hell are you doing? A bunch of trash." The man who was holding Su Yun back was incomparably angry. He cursed inwardly, suddenly turned, and ran into the distance. Ran away? The big-sized man was stunned. However, in the next second, the person from the other side had already rushed over, grabbing the double moon sword and slashing towards him. The big-sized man anxiously raised his sword again, but this time, the attack was not as simple as before. This move, combined with Su Yun's enormous divine power and brute force, its power was extremely terrifying. The giant shield was already smashed to pieces. With the sword falling, it immediately shattered. The big-sized man lost his giant shield and was immediately unable to defend. In terms of speed, he was not Su Yun's match. He could not keep up with the rhythm and was in a state of suppression. In the blink of an eye, his body was broken, and he quickly died under Su Yun's sword. "They're all trash. Trash." Seeing this, Qin Tian understood that he could not do anything to Su Yun and immediately turned to escape. But how could Su Yun let them leave? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.